Well, good evening. Welcome, and thank you again for tuning into another Live Free and Ham live stream, guys. Well, I'm Eric, and I'm here with my band of brothers and a very dear friend here, Izzo. Thank you again for coming to hang out with us. We always appreciate folks jumping in and just hanging out with us during our live streams, and so appreciate you.
I had nothing to do tonight. I had nothing. I had nothing to do tonight.
Well, okay, I guess that's.
I should be chasing that D Expedition Rutuma Island. I should be chasing them.
Oh,
I'm not, and I should be chasing some POTA right now. But
so if you're not off somewhere in the middle of the stream or something like that, we just know you're either got some other issues or you're just bored. Well, anyway, with that, again, we appreciate everybody jumping on tonight and appreciate all the support and all the folks that are in the chat that are coming on the chat. I know it's a Monday night, so a little people are a little slow on the wheel there to realize that there are live streams out there. But it's
a short week though. It's a short week.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, well, but you figure everybody's on vacation at this point if you're not already getting into vacation. So yeah, maybe. Yeah. Hey, whatever.
Wait, it's Monday.
Oh yeah, true, right.
Us working folk. It's a short week.
I know. I woke out of rolled out of bed this morning at like almost 10 o'clock. I'm like, why? I should have stayed in bed. But anyway. So, well, hey, with that, again, how are you guys doing? What's been going on? Paul, how is your Monday morning or Monday afternoon or whatever day of the week you might think it is going?
Well, so I'm trying to learn some new software, trying to figure some things out. I got a ton of ham radio related projects, which is great. I just got to find the time to do them.
Wait a minute. You have a regular job?
Yeah, it's called homeschooling.
Yeah, true. That is a full-time
job. Ooh, that's tough.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, good on the software there. Hopefully it's not going to cause you too much headache there. But with that, Izzo, how are you doing, buddy? Glad you could join us tonight. We're always excited to have you on. When you can,
even though you're only here because you had nothing better to do.
Listen, I was stumbling around. I'm walking around the mean streets of New Hampshire, and I found a cigar. And Todd said, "What are you doing?" And then he says, "Eric's over there," and I saw you, Eric, over there, and Paul's over by the lamppost talking to somebody. I don't know who he's talking to, and they said, "Come on in." So,
oh, very cool.
No, I'm doing all right, man. Son. I meant to play. I wanted to. Don't you guys hate this? I wanted to play POTA last week, and I got derailed with home projects. We have some home projects going on, and my daughter came home from college, and just rearranging things for her temporarily. Then we got a major project when she leaves in the spring, and I'm like, all of a sudden, I had to go back to work. I'm like, wait a minute, I was supposed to have like 4 to 5 hours at the very least. Just give me 3. Just give me 2. Let me just go to my closest park to my house and let me just bang out, 30, 40, whatever. And it feels weird. It really, really feels weird. And when Paul just said a few moments ago about a project, so I took my FT 891. I was running it in a backpack. Bought a 50 caliber or a plastic ammo can that the top comes off, and I threw the 891 inside there. Did a quick drill here, Velcro, heavy duty Velcro this, Velcro that, drilled the holes for the SO239 port, power pulse port. I did it. And then I started looking at it, and it works. Don't get me wrong. A beggar is not going to complain, but you know what happens when it comes to us in projects.
Oh,
I said, let me go get the separation kit. And now maybe I'll either use the same can or go to a different carrying thing, but use the separation head because I want to do something kind of
see where this is going.
You see, it went down a whole rabbit hole, but once again, there's not enough time in the week, and it gets frustrating. And like I was telling the guys the other night, I was telling Tank, I was on Tank's show the other night. I said, man, I got to just retire. This is just getting to be ridiculous. I should have been born independently wealthy, or I should have had some kind of estate money coming in, or a lotto ticket. Because this is
rich family,
a rich family. Because if somebody wants to adopt me, hey, listen, but I want to play radio, and it's getting involved. The W thing, work just gets involved. The family stuff will always be there. We all know that. Let's not kid ourselves. But it's the work thing that, hey, but you need it though, because if you don't do it,
you can't fund your hobby, right?
Wow.
So I got a countdown timer to December 1st, 2031.
Right.
Is when ham radio for me is free reign. So that's when I
Really?
retire. I bought a timer on Amazon. It sits in front of my desk. I think I've got 2,561 days to go.
I had the app. Hey, Todd, I had the app on my phone. It got so depressing. I just said, stop.
I know.
Technically, I've got 4.5 years. That's it. If I want.
Well, we're in a little bit of a money crisis right now here in New Hampshire. So last time they had a money crisis, they let us buy years back.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
So if I could buy 5 years back, that would make me 2 more years to go. So,
well, I was hoping. You guys ever hear the term the golden handshake?
Yeah, I've heard golden parachutes, but yeah.
Okay, well, the golden handshake is when somebody wants to get rid of a few, but you have to let everybody who meets the criteria go, and you pay them. You pay them in years. You pay them financially. I would, and we saw that. We saw that where I work about 10 years ago, and there was a mass exodation. People just drove because they met the criteria, and they're like, "Hey, I'm going to get up every morning and just water the grass and feed the birds, or I'm going to go get another chapter 2 and go do something else." Whatever it is. Matter of fact, over dinner tonight, we were just saying, it would be nice to keep this house, buy something in New Hampshire, and bounce back and forth. That would be the ultimate goal that I would like and to come up to New Hampshire there's a lot of benefits that I see. Maybe I'm being selfish, but
it's okay. Be selfish.
Right.
There are a lot of perks to living in this state.
There really is. I have visited maybe about 8-10 times. I like it. I don't know all the ins and outs, but that's okay. That's how you learn them. That's how you learn it. And I don't want to be near the tourism, but I just want to make sure there's a Walmart and the UPS driver knows where I live to drop off the Amazon. That's all. That's all I really need. I really don't need a lot. I'm not asking for a lot, But
you could be up in Stewartstown, and I mean, there's a Walmart within 45 minutes, and UPS will definitely deliver. But you're
Where's
in the
that?
middle of nowhere.
Is it up towards like Maine, or
It's almost the Canadian border on the Vermont side.
on the
Low
Vermont
noise
side?
floor.
Low
Low
noise-
noise
Oh, yeah.
floor.
No noise.
I haven't gone. I think the furthest north I've gone, and it's really not north, but you guys will probably laugh. I think the Lincoln area.
Yeah.
Above us.
Yeah, I like that area. At least I think I do. I haven't. You know what you got to do? You got to just spend time. You got to spend like 2 or 3 months and do it 2 or 3 times to kind of see
I
who your
mean,
neighbors are.
I mean, I went to college up there. Anything north of Concord is like a different lifestyle. Like when you live up in that area, you need to go and do something. You got to like plan a day. Like you want to go, like say you had to go to the mall. You got to plan a day for it. It's not like you can just run down and get it. But it's getting more populated up there, so there are more things like Walmarts and stuff. Like I think when I went up there was only an Ames. Like that was it.
Wow.
Ames,
Yeah, really.
remember
Ames, Aldors, Bradley's
Yeah.
days. Oh yeah, sure.
Right. So, but yeah, I stayed up there for 5 years. I didn't come back. I just lived up there. It was awesome. It was just a way of life. Very laid back. Lots of you get used to it, and you don't have to be bothered by it. And if you want to deal with this, like if you wanted to go do a trip to Boston, you had to plan it out, and you're probably staying over. And it wasn't like you could just, like for us, like if we want to go to Boston, we just hop in the car and go.
Right.
There, you got to like plan it out, or trips like to the airport. You're an hour and a half away.
Right.
So,
I'll leave you with this. People laugh when I say Connecticut. Connecticut is probably similar to New Hampshire, but a little different. We're the size of a county. The state of Connecticut is really the size of a county in a lot of states around around our great nation, America.
Right.
Okay, but because I've lived here all my life, I know all the ins, the outs. I know the exorbitant rich areas that just don't appeal to me. They just don't appeal to me, and I stay away.
You don't want to live in Greenwich?
No, listen, there really are some nice people down there, but they get overshadowed by the please pass the Grey Poupon and all the Poupon mustard and all this other stuff. That's just not me. I don't play polo. I don't do rugby. I just want to sit and have a good cigar, and I want to play radio. Leave me alone. In my mansion. You know what I mean? But I like where I live in Connecticut. But there are pockets. There are pockets of Connecticut. A lot of people don't even know. Yes, the government. I don't like the government rules and taxes and other things. But as far as the actual living, your immediate environment, there's some really nice areas that you can really be close, but not close. And I'm sure all the other states have these things. All 49 states have the same thing that I am discussing. It's just you just got to find it. Find your peace. Find your happiness. That kind of thing.
Well,
so.
I'll give you a bit of advice if you're looking at buying up here, right? Is look at all the different towns' property tax levels or their property tax rates, right? Because that's the only tax that we pay in this state is property tax, and the property tax varies depending on your town. And so there are some towns that have really low property tax rates. And then there are other towns like mine, and not so much.
And mine.
So,
yep, that bill hurt, man. That bill.
I don't want to tell you. Let me tell you something. In my town where I live, because it's Boston Post Road, US 1, the famous US 1. Because I am south of Route 1, I automatically pay a couple $1,000s more, and I have less property. Where in my same town, just north of there's this imaginary line that they have. You automatically are zoned at 2.5 acres, and your taxes are automatically cheaper. It's just how it is. So, but you know what I do, Paul? I've done this in New Hampshire, Vermont, and parts of Maine. I'll go to the individual towns' websites, and I'll read their minutes to see what they're talking about. And you know something? the scuttlebuttle is the same as it is in my town. It's, oh my God, we need a new plow truck, but we don't have the money. We want to pave some roads. We're going to do it this year, or should we kick the can a few more years because we don't have them? Oh, we got COVID money. Let's pay for here. It is amazing. Who needs a new fire truck to a police car to a street whatever? It's funny. And so really, is the grass greener? Maybe a little bit, a different shade. That's all it is.
Depending on if you like it purple. Yeah, all good there, man. Well, like I said, you're always welcome here, and especially in the state of New Hampshire, man. In essence, we'll show you the town for sure. Any one of us will happily grab our radios and head to the mountains or head to the coast and play some POTA for sure.
Thanks.
But you should. Do you actually do POTA when you had the day off? Because I know we were trying to coordinate on Discord a while back, and I was like trying to see if I could get down there to the day, but nothing ever materialized. Did you end up going out and doing activation? Oh no,
because I had contractors in and out of here. They were all supposed to come on one of my days off, leaving me the other day free. Yeah. And now with the time change, when I get out of work at 4:00 Eastern, by 4:15, 4:30, it's pitch black. And some parks I can go to, it's not a problem. It's just a safety issue. It's just a safety issue of where do I want to be, and it just gets a little bit different now. Yep. So,
speaking of your work, Izzo, I'm trying to get a part-time gig being a dispatcher for my town. I know the chief of police.
Oh, you know what? Hey, why don't you come where I work? We are hiring. We need it. If you want to make six figures, all you got to do is show up for work. All you got to do.
He said there's a lot of part-timers that kind of like they just show up when they want. He goes, I got to get like regular people that are just going to work like a night or two that I can just say they're going to be here. And I'm like, dude, you're looking at a ham radio operator. I'm almost an extra. And he goes, what? I'm working. I go, I know how to work radios. I go, no problem. So he's like, all right.
Dispatching is a little different, but
it is. Hey, I'll tell you one thing. Hey, I will tell you one thing. One thing about my job, it has taught me to multitask. And I don't do it in the field. I don't do it and I probably should, especially in the summertime, with the famous foot pedal. Okay. But with a foot pedal, it keeps my hands free. I'm able to concentrate and I can do this, I can do that, I can do that. Especially on that Polo software, which has even made it even easier for me for logging POTA. But it's just amazing, Todd. I think our hobby, if you're into NTS, if you're into any type of, again, multitasking, I think any job outside of our hobby that has the multitasking, all of a sudden, man, you fit it just goes easier.
Well, that's what we were talking about. I said, I was trying to tell him about what it's like doing a pile up and how you got to like organize and figure out how you're doing it and get things and log and do all this stuff. And he says, yeah, he goes, well, in our town, it's like you're going to get real busy for a period of time and then it's going to be dead. And you got to stay like awake and be ready for it to pick up again. So I said, well, listen, I'll go take a course, whatever you need me to do. But if you need me to start picking up a shift here and there or come in or at least get me trained, if someone doesn't come up, just call me. I said, I'd love to do it just for some extra money. And, who knows, maybe it'll be like my retirement gig.
Well, and heck, it's total content material, man. We'll just, live stream you from the dispatch,
I'll tell you, when I first got to the Marine Corps, I went to work for Bedford PD here in New Hampshire, doing police, fire, 911 dispatch, and it was evenings and nights mostly because I was a low man on the totem pole. But I'll tell you, the multitasking aspect of it is fantastic because yes, 100% you learn to do a whole lot all at once. But the stress of having somebody on the phone who's in distress and you're trying to coordinate and get the information from them that you need to relay on, and you get police rolling and a fire ambulance rolling all at fast time, you'll find that sometimes no matter how fast you are, no matter how good you are, they just don't get there in time, and you lose a person, and that kind of stuff, it weighs on you a little bit,
Yeah.
But it's definitely it's a high stress job.
It's what, and I have said this, people who say to me, well, how do you deal with it? Well, there's two ways we deal with it. One, when we're not on the phone, because after we hang up the phone, we have to wait 20 seconds. So it's because it's no longer recording us. Okay.
Mhm.
Just because it goes off hook, the recorder still, so we have to wait
Okay.
20 seconds. And same thing with the microphone. When we key up, although that's instantaneously, we vent. Oh, we'll say, and people will be like, how can you say that? Well, I'll tell you what, you do my job for about a year or so, and all of a sudden, you start to vent at your friends in the field. You call them 4-letter words. You call them nice words. You call them then 2 seconds. It's just amazing, and they know it, and they do it too. They're doing the same thing to us in the field as what we're doing to them, and I feel that's one with the venting. Number two, my hobby of ham radio is a true natural balance release. And when I'm in POTA parks and people say to me, "Oh my God, what do you do for a living?" and I'll tell them just briefly, "Well, why do you want to play radio on your day off or whatever?" I say, "It's a whole different type of radio, and this is fun stuff. This is fun to chase the guy, whether he's in Maine to Morocco to anywhere, and just make a contact, whether it's for 10 seconds through POTA."
Yeah.
Maybe or a rag chew. It's such a balance. It's a balance.
Yeah.
Plus, a good old cigar helps too.
And a glass of whiskey.
You can't do that at dispatch, and you can't have your cigar with you.
outside.
You could.
Yeah, or your whiskey. Yeah,
or your whiskey, right?
Mhm.
No,
Cool.
the chief. I coached his son in baseball, and I've known him. He used to be our prosecutor, in the town, so I've known him for years. And yeah, he was just venting to me, saying that he was, he was having a hard time finding dispatchers because they were like kind of as needed, and then they would decide not to show up, and then he'd be like, he'd have one of his patrol guys down there until he could find some.
Yeah.
And I said, dude, get me involved. I said, I live down the road. I go, you get short. I'll come down there and, cover you or, pick up a shift here and there. So he's looking into it. He'll see how it goes, but at least he knows it's available. I threw it out there.
Excellent.
Very cool. Well,
all I need is, now that you tell me it's super stressful, that's all I need. I'm trying to get
just learn how to vent. Just learn how to listen.
Yeah.
When I work with the new people, I tell them, you are going to get frustrated doing this, and it's not always you. It could be the equipment. There's going to be an equipment failure. The mouse is not going to move as fast as you want to. The person on the phone is really being an idiot, but we can't call them an idiot because that's our job. We can't say it. But,
well, my buddy's he's an air traffic controller, and he's told me some stories of just like idiotic pilots that don't listen, and
yeah, same thing. Every job has it. I've learned, man. You can listen. You can work with. I bet you the architects and the doctors and the construction workers and the lawyers. Everybody has their group of idiots. I don't care. It's human nature.
So are you guys ready for me to take on this job and be able to vent now on instead of my other job, be able to vent on
dude, you already vent like
how stupid the cops are.
So if you really want to hear
just don't mention badges, badge numbers and names. That's all you gotta do. Just keep it
stricken in black ink. That's all it looks. But all right, well, as Todd's contemplating career changes there, what's up with you, buddy? What's been going on today?
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, just another crappy day at work. No, I worked late. As you guys, well, a lot of you guys watching probably don't know this, but these guys know it is. I'm always like, always got something going on, and I got a little ADHD, so I don't always remember. And thank God, like yesterday we were recording one of the shows, and he's like, "Oh, don't forget tomorrow we have a live stream." I'm like, "We do? For what?"
We know you well, buddy. It's a guarantee.
So they're like my backup. So I'm like, "Oh shit, I got to work tomorrow night." Oh yeah, what time is it? He's like 8. I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's no problem. I'll be out of there by 6:30." So I came home, grabbed a quick bite to eat, and got on the air, or got on this. So
it's might all as well
good.
Be there, man.
Yeah, might as well. But so today was no big deal. It was I got I have court tomorrow, so I had to prepare for that. And yeah, that was about it. Had a dumb training that I didn't need to go to, that I had to go to, but wasn't really useful for me. And I studied my extra questions during the training, and here I am.
Which, mind you, for all of our audience that were anticipating us to doing the extra, portion of our usual show, it's not on our live stream this week. So, Todd's taking a break because of the holidays, at least for this week. So we'll pick it up regularly.
Unless they really want to, if all of a sudden the chat blows up and they want to do it, I guess we could do it.
So, all right, if the chat wants to do, I don't know, are you geared up, Paul? Can you pick it up?
Oh yeah, I could do it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So if the chat wants to do something a little extra with Todd, put a 1 in the chat, and we'll add it to the list that in a bit. But otherwise,
you could be nice and just let me have a break for at least one live show.
Could.
Look at Paul, number 1 right there.
True that.
Yeah. So yeah, Cameron. So I was all set. I'm like, all right, nothing's gonna happen Wednesday. There's only a couple of us in the office. I'm like, right? I told you guys this. And I'm like, all right, POTA's happening. I'm doing it. No, well, Wednesday hasn't come yet. But then they say, oh, by the way, Dan is the administrator, will be in the office on Wednesday. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, it's like me and like one other person. I go, and he's coming for the whole day? I'm like, how am I going to sneak out and do my POTA activation?
You're not.
I might have to do a home visit, and there's no school, so I can't use the excuses. Like, oh, I got to go to the schools because they're all out. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, look at you clowns.
And the storm coming in is coming in too late because if the storm was going to come in for Wednesday, that's a perfect. Hey man, we're getting snow up because you guys are going to get a little snow, I think, right?
Yeah. They don't know. They keep changing it. I think
there was.
It depends on where they don't know where the storm's going to track. If it does, we're going to be right on the border. Up north will get it if it goes that far. They said I think they said tomorrow afternoon they'll have a better idea what's going on. But they've been talking about this for like there's a guy on social media. He does like Northeast weather, and he's been predicting this for like 2 weeks now. And like the first map he saw, it was like 19 to 20 inches. I'm like, what? I'm like, let's just hope this guy is wrong.
Sometimes I think these guys are doing it only for their own marketing purposes to get attention. But I have an idea for you, Todd. Being who we are here in this YouTube world, you can do a green screen, get some snow, get like a window with snow falling in the background, call in. Even if you use your iPhone and FaceTime and say, look, oh my God, it's freaking bad out here at my house. The keywords at my house.
Right. Well, you laugh about that, but a guy I used to work with, we used to have staff meetings every Thursday, and during COVID, they were on Zoom. So one day he filmed himself in a Zoom meeting, and then that was his background.
There you go,
so
Eric.
It was him. So he was in a Zoom meeting, but that was like his background without him being there. So it looked like he was in there, and he'd be moving and talking, and then like 1 minute, like the boss is like, "Hey, Eric, what's going on?" And then he pops back in, and then you see him instead of what he was wearing before. And he's wearing like a different shirt. She goes, "Did you just change shirts? Like, what's going on?" He goes, "I got bagged." It was pretty ingenious though. Like he probably had like good 3 weeks of just not be. I mean, I don't know where he was, but he sure as hell wasn't sitting in his chair paying attention to the staff meeting.
Very cool. All right, well, let's do some of the preliminary stuff here because we've got some interesting, fun, excitement stuff that we've been teasing for a little while.
Brad's working on his extra license.
So those that have just jumped in, we got about 17 in there. If you want us to go through Todd's extra episode, where we test him on his extra question, throw one in the chat. We got a couple of ones already. So if you missed that originally, we'll throw one in there if you want us to run through that little section. If not, we'll put a pin in it and hold off for a regular show or a next live stream. But with that, we've got some really cool, exciting stuff that I kind of want to get out of the way because we've been teasing it for a little bit. But before we actually get into some of the hardcore stuff that we're going to talk about tonight, because I think that's going to be some good topic to talk about. We're talking about 2025 predictions, and we're taking the chains off and everything goes. So looking forward to seeing what you guys bring to the table that you'd love to see change in ham radio or getting improved on. But with that, one thing obviously we want to announce to all of our Live Free and Ham listeners is starting in January, you're going to get more Live Free and Ham. We are changing from a bi-weekly show to now a weekly show. So you're going to get us every week and a live show once a month and probably something else in between. You never know. I mean, but at least the bare minimum, you're going to have us 5 times a month. That's bare minimum. So, you know, load up your podcast there. You know, it's going to be some fun stuff. We're looking forward to it. We've been
there goes our subscribers. They're just going to be falling off.
You know, so, you know, the benefit to that is if you're a Patreon member, you're going to get a lot of the uncut content that, you know, you don't normally get when you just listen to the regular podcast and the YouTube channel there. So, you know, that might be something you want to look at if you want to see all the stuff that happens in the underbelly of Live Free and Ham and all the weird stuff and crazy stuff. And, you know, we actually even have an unscheduled therapy session with, you know, Todd every week. I mean, literally he goes into about 45 minutes of how bad work is and, you know, hear all the details.
I'm taking Izzo's advice. Be able to vent to your friends. That's what I do.
And baseball coaching.
Yeah.
Eric spending his money.
Yeah,
Todd, don't use my money. Todd, do not use my name in this. Keep me. I am the guest. Don't blame me for nothing.
Yep. So
that's right.
You're interested in stuff like that, you know, you can head over to our Live Free and Ham, click on the Patreon link down there, and you can find out more information. And we got a bunch of people that have already subscribed, and we thank you guys for being part of that community. And hopefully you're enjoying the content. And there's a lot of great, cool stuff that we're releasing to them kind of pre-release. And so kind of with some of that, you know, we've also announced, you know, in some of our pre-shows before January, our, you know, 800 number. I was going to say 900 number. They're both wrong. We've got a voicemail number that, you know, if you ever want to just call and leave a message, you want to talk about an episode we've, you know, talked about, you want to chime in to say hello, you want to leave a do good, whatever, you can head over and use our 978-233-1142, which is down below there. And thank you, Paul, for triggering that. You can leave a voicemail to us 24 hours, 7 days a week. You know, we'll pick it up and we'll play it on the next episode. So, you know, if you want to be a smart ass, then feel free to be a smart ass because we're going to return it back and have some fun with it. So, you know, it's a wide open thing. And, you know, we're looking forward to seeing what you guys want to throw at us. You know.
I'm really disappointed. We haven't had any hate mail because they say when you start getting the hate mail, you succeeded. And I got one hate mail and it was fake. I was like, who the hell is this asshole? And then I
this show sucks.
Yeah, I'm like, oh,
it's Paul. I know that voice.
Yeah, or worse, you have one of our original, you know, Ryan, who wants to test it out and he's calling CQ, but then he, per his FCC requirements, doesn't identify himself. He just says calling CQ, POTA, CQ, and then hangs up. And it's like, well, then we'll never know if it was really you or not. So, yeah. So anyway, all good. We're looking forward to it. So you got that number down below, and all of the usual stuff still applies that we talk about with our win link and such. So you can always use our SMS as it's always there and available. But
hey, Eric, does anybody ever pick up the telephone, or does it automatically go into a voice?
We don't get paid enough, Izzo, and until we do,
so it's not going into a call center yet. So Bob from somewhere overseas isn't picking up saying hello.
Yes.
If there's anyone out there that can tell me how to reroute it to Eric's phone, I'd love to just send it right there.
That's a call forward. That's easy, man.
There's plenty of ways to do it. I'm just not going to tell you.
Yeah, we're not going to tell you.
However, a little behind the scenes, Todd has noted that he's all getting the call forwards to his cell phone number. So we're gonna have some fun with it. We hope you guys have some fun with it. You know, we want to connect with you guys more, so please bring it on. We encourage it and are looking forward to it. And so kind of with that, we also teased a little bit in the past for a few things that we've been working on in the background that we're super excited to kind of release now. So you guys are the, first, we got 18 there in the chat now, and I'm sure a bunch of other people listening after, but, we are going to actually, let the cat out of the bag. We've been planning, we've been kind of scheming and doing a little plotting and trying to figure out how we can create something for our listeners that was, typically unique to Live Free and Ham, but still kind of honored the tried and true tradition of a lot of our listeners. Now, our demographic, our listeners are obviously ham radio operators. They're usually male in some form or fashion, but we encourage to have more females on the show. And they're all drinkers in some form or fashion, you know, whether they're whiskey drinkers, whether they're bourbon drinkers, whether they're, you know, beer, whatever. So we were like, what can we do? How can we put something together that, you know, honors that diehard side of stuff? So we came up with, let me bring it on here. We have come up with our own Live Free and Ham branded, if I can get the page here. There we go. Branded whiskey glass. Now, this is on a limited run. So what you're seeing here is you're going to get a custom etched whiskey glass with the Live Free and Ham logo on it. We only have a small amount available for sale. So once they're gone, they're gone. But, you know, you can pick that up on the store, and we're going to be doing a lot more promotion. We got a couple of cool things Paul and I are working on, you know, to kind of promote it commercial-wise. So looking forward to kind of doing that. It's going to allow our humor to come out in it, which will be really cool to see in the future. But right now, we're doing an early release on this live stream. You can head over to our website, head over to livefreeandham.com/shop. And in there, you can pick up the whiskey glass and you can order your whiskey glass. And in essence, shipping is included in that price. So anywhere in the continental United States, 50 states, that is included in the price for that shipping. If you want to, and you're an overseas person and you want to actually get a copy of this glass, or you want to get one for your own, you know, shack itself, or to be able to put it in your arsenal, then, you know, email us at livefreeandham@gmail.com and we'll work out a, you know, a deal there so we can get you in on the loops there. But, you know, it's one of those glasses that it's only run for a limited time. We've got about 40 or 40 so of them that we've got in ready to go. And so, you know, if you want to be one of those guys that owns a very special token of Live Free and Ham that probably will never come back, this is what you want to go for. You know, I'm super excited with it. I know Paul has been heavily testing his out, and I've been doing the same with mine. And been doing really, really good with it so far. I haven't spilled myself or you know, done anything stupid with it yet, but all good either way. Yeah,
no, I just got to go to the liquor store.
True that. So
just a disclaimer: the whiskey does not come with the glass.
With the glass, yes, we should say that. Thank you.
Yo, guys, you know what's going to happen someday? These glasses are going to be in some estate sale, some tag sale. Someone at the, you know, let's face it, I hate to say it, but we're all going to pass someday. Our shacks are going to get cleaned out. The family may want to keep one, but eventually, this stuff is going to be at the tag sale, whether it's at the big town-wide sale, the, you know, whatever. And my question is, what are they going to pay for that glass? That thing, that better hold its value. That's all I know. That better, that glass is, that's vintage, man. This is vintage.
It's either going to hold its value or it's going to be on that table. It's like, please take home so I can sleep with my wife tonight. She told me I'd be on the couch.
At the end of the day, you know, at the end of the day, people just say free, take it, because they don't want to bring it back to the garage.
Well, they might get confused with the title alone. They might think, oh, I couldn't just take this off the table already.
It says free, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of the big things we've been teasing a little bit. We finally got those together, and they are in our possession, and we're ready to kind of dole them out to the folks that are diehard whiskey bourbon drinkers. I know I'm becoming one. Thank you, Paul.
Or Scotch.
Or Scotch, yes. I keep forgetting Scotch.
What an influencer he is, huh?
Yeah, on many levels, my sure.
Good mentor.
Many levels.
Good mentor.
Yeah, very cool. Well, so those are all available in the store now, and so you can definitely run over there and pick one up. And when they're gone, they're gone, and you know, that's a bummer. But yeah, those who are going to get them in their grubby little hands are going to have a token that will last forever, and hopefully, like I just said, keep their value. All right, okay. So our last thing here, and I'm just going to bring this up here so I have it already. Let me kill this here. Is we have been working on, or I've been working on a little project here that I'm very excited to announce to folks. We've already had a few people, you know, kind of test run these a little bit, but let me kind of give you a little backstory here. And so, you know, have you ever just been out driving, and, you know, all of us go out and drive at some level, and been driving, and you find yourself or catch yourself looking around at other vehicles for antennas? You know, you're looking to identify that other ham that flew by you at 60 miles an hour on the highway in the opposite direction, or you're in the, you know, the mall parking lot, and you're like, where are all the hams? You know, you're looking for those antennas. And so I find myself doing that a lot more often now, just because I've got a bunch on my truck, and I'm always looking to see where I can find the license plates or find those ham radio antennas. So I was thinking, how can I reach out to those guys or gals and say, hey, I see your antennas. I think it's pretty cool. And so I started kind of leaving the little notes there on their windshield saying, hey, yeah, I saw your antennas, here's my call sign, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, that's not cool enough. And then I'm like, oh, well, throw my QSL card on there. And of course, if everybody knows me, I can't figure out how to get my QSL card the way I want it. So I don't have a QSL card right now. So I'm not doing that at all. So that left me to kind of fall into this a little bit. My daughter's got a Jeep, and she's a big Duck fan, and those that have Jeeps know that when you find somebody that has a really cool Jeep or something like that, you end up getting ducked. It's a way to say, hey, I respect you, I love what you did with your car, keep it up. It's a real cool sign of appreciation. So
and more ducks is almost a
yep.
Like a status symbol.
Status. Yes, you are higher. Yeah. You have a higher. The more ducks you have, yes,
you got a cooler Jeep than everybody else because you got more ducks.
Exactly.
Yep.
Lift kit, tires. It. Antennas, color, paint.
Totally. And so, what can we do in the ham radio? Yeah, well,
I got 3 ducks. I'm a loser.
So with that, I'm like, okay, well, what can we do? And so I was kind of thinking and processing, and a long while ago, Jason on HR2O's episode mentioned, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we could do pigs as a way to show, kind of a way of status? So I was like, all right, cool. So I found a company. Long story short, we put it together, and we finally have a little project that we're calling Get Hammed. So if you head on over to gethammed.com, you can head over and pick up a set of little hams. We've got them in a 3-pack, which is our bacon set. We've got a spiral ham, which is 10-pack, and then we got a country ham, which is the 25-pack. And with every little pig, you get this little token, and the token itself says at the top that you've been hammed, and there's a little section you could write your call sign in, and then there's the web address, and that's it. They're glued to the pig itself, and so all you have to do is just sneak up on the car that has the antennas, place it on the windshield, the mirror, the door handle, whatever, and walk away. And to tell you how cool it is, I was witness to 3 of them. I did it over the past weekend. I had a bunch in my truck. I had them in my hand, and I saw 3 different hams in the parking lot. And I put one on the windshield, literally, right in front of the driver's side. I put another one on a mirror, and I happened to, it was another Jeep I saw, and I happened to have the door handle, so I placed it on the door handle. And I didn't get to see 2 of the cars, but I got to see one who was, basically just coming back to his car, and I was walking back at the same time, and I saw the pig on the dash or on the windshield that I placed there, and I was watching from a distance thinking, hey, he's got to be able to see that small little pig. He's got to see this pink thing in his windshield. And he got in his car, shut his door, started the car, and drove off. And the little pig, as I'm watching him drive down the back of the parking lot on the main drag, goes whipping into the cowl corner of the windshield and is lodged in there. So I'm hoping maybe his wife will be like, what the hell is this little plastic pink thing? And, he'll be able to get a little kick out of it. But overall, I think it's kind of fun. I'm enjoying promoting the hobby, and I think it's a cool way to kind of do it. So, we're just starting out. We've got them on our website. You want to buy them, you can head over there and do that. If you want to do it on your own, email me, and I'm happy to send you, some of the steps I did. But, let's spread the ham love. Let's have some fun. Let's recognize other hams and just have some fun with it.
Cool.
I love it. I can't wait to get some hams in my mailbox so that I can start putting them on people's cars.
It's gonna be fun, man. It's gonna be fun.
It's way better than leaving a handwritten note.
It is. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, because that's just weird. You come out and you see somebody lift a handwritten note under your windshield wiper, and you'd much rather get a little pig.
Did I get into an accident? That's what you think is the worst.
Wait, where'd my antennas go?
Yep. Yeah, and again, they are not super huge. So in essence, they aren't going to be super conspicuous, but in essence, they are perfect size for, what we're trying to do with them. So, grab a few, do some on your own, but, let's spread the love around. You can head over to the gethammed.com website to find out more about it, pick them up, and share some of the photos you might be doing when you actually place some of these pigs. So looking forward to it. All right, cool. So those are some of the cool things we've been working on. And, we got a lot more on the, in the pipeline, but we haven't finished finalizing it all. But let's kind of get into tonight's conversation. So as we alluded to, we wanted to talk, a little bit about, predictions for 2025. And, we were originally thinking Black Friday, but then we we've already kind of talked about it. We know other tubers are going to start, kind of mentioning the Black Friday deals. So we were thinking, hey, why don't we do a little bit something, along the lines of let's talk about predictions of what we would like to see in the hobby, what we'd like to have changed, what would be really cool in 2025 if they fixed whatever, and you can fill in the blank for that. And so all these guys did a little preparation for that discussion. And so, those in the chat, we'd like to, if you want to participate, if you got some of those predictions that you think you'd want to, put APRS on its ear and, improve that or whatever be the case, throw it in the chat and, we'll make sure we highlight it. But at the same time, who kind of wants to start out? Let's talk predictions. I figure, each of us got 3 of them maybe we can come up with and talk. But it sounds like we should start somewhere. So who wants to pick it up?
All right, you ready for the big one? This is going to be the upsetter, okay? My prediction for 2025 is that Yaesu will once again fail to come up with a 705 killer.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, and reasons
Step
why.
up your game, Yaesu.
What would have to make it a 705 killer?
100 watts.
That it?
That's all I need.
No, 50.
No?
Or even 50 watts.
20,
Okay.
20 to 50.
I would do 50 watts. If they came up with a 50 watt, yeah, I'd jump on that.
And 50 watts, same form factor, or 50 watts a little bit bigger, that okay?
No,
same size.
Same size as a 705.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be VHF, UHF, HF. It could be just HF, but the same size, right? And yeah, 50 watts or a little better would be ideal. That would definitely prompt me to toss the 891 and upgrade
To a Yaesu?
Interesting.
Wait,
well, he's an 891's an Yaesu anyway.
This is recorded, right? Did you say you would upgrade to a Yaesu? Is that what I heard?
Listen, I said
Wait a minute,
I would
Mr.
get rid of the 891 or the 705 killer. Otherwise, guess what's in the budget next year? 705. and the Neptune amp.
Well, but okay, let me ask why.
Wow.
I know Izzo's got a
interesting.
705, so I'm curious to see his input on that. But 705 is what, 10 watts total, right? Is that out of the battery pack? And it has all mode, all band. So why would you not want the same in the Yaesu stuff for all mode, all band?
Well, I'm giving Yaesu the credit that they don't have to meet the full bill of the 705.
Well, didn't they already do that now? They basically did.
Yeah.
They gave you one more watt. It's not 5 watts, it's 6 watts. And it's 11 watts, not 10.
And
So-
don't you have
That's
two?
not out yet.
True. It's all
coming
vaporware in
out.
my mind. Yeah.
But
It's vaporware.
Now, I hear what you said. I mean, that was my thing. I was hoping that Yaesu comes out with an 891 replacement. I mean, I love the 891. My biggest downfall with the 891 is just if you don't have good propagation, you want to try to do some tuning out, it's just hard to get through those menus. And I don't know. It's old. We need a new one.
Okay, so Izzo, you agree you would make the leap if you, being a 705 owner now, that would you make that change if they went to 100 watt with full all band all mode on a 70 whatever F1 they call it?
All right. I hate to do this, but I'm going to do it because you all know who I am. Let me give you a quick backstory so you can understand this. I had an Elecraft KX3 before the ICOM, and I'm an ICOM fanboy. Always have been. I go back to old days of Kenwood's, so a lot of Kenwood stuff. JRC, HF. I loved my JRC when I first got into the hobby. It was a loaner for about a year. When the ICOM first came out, 705 came out, of course I got intrigued, but I was also looking at the G90. I was looking at the Lab 500. I wanted something light and portable to go just to have. Look at that. Yeah.
Ryan's in the house.
Right. Yeah. But here's the thing with me. ICOM just happened to please me even more. It was like a Billy Mays. But wait, there's more. That fit my lifestyle of how if I had to design a radio, give me everything. I didn't care about the external tuner. I really that was not I see it on all the forums, social media. Some guys just want to complain. They want an internal tuner. That I didn't care about that.
Use a resonant antenna.
Right. You have options. Use a resonant antenna, get the matte tuner, or get the 705, get the AH 705 tuner. It's those are your options. Stop complaining and go play radio for Christ's sakes. But here's the thing, okay? For a guy like me who has a very good D-Star network here in Connecticut, which I use, in the summertime, I may want to throw on AM broadcast and go listen to a ball game. Even though I'm not a big baseball fanatic, I want to just sit and relax and listen to a baseball game. Okay. Or throw on some FM and listen to some rock and roll or some country or whatever. You know what I mean? This radio, this ICOM 705 does so much, and it's hard. It's hard to start as a manufacturer, and I get this for all of them. Okay. Where are you going to get your biggest buck? Because what do they want to do at the end of the day? They want to sell radios, right? And they don't want to sell a little radio. They want to sell thousands and thousands and thousands of radios. They want to keep it overturning. Yes, POTA has helped in a big way, and soda, but they want to sell radios. I got lucky. So when I sold my and it killed me to sell my Elecraft, but a local guy wanted my package. He liked my accessories, and put $1 on a napkin. We were at the diner, and he put $1 on a napkin, and I almost fell over because I'm like, oh my God, for $200 more, I can get and all my accessories that I had already written down what I wanted for my 705, and it was a no-brainer. So, but I love the Elecraft. I love that Elecraft KX3. It is an incredible receiver on there, and I had the 2-meter board in there. It's hard, Paul. I agree. It's a hard thing when it comes to what do we want for a radio, because everyone's going to do it differently. But what I do think, the manufacturers are not listening to us, but I think they're not here to provide us with the reasons, and maybe they never will tell us. Are they going to get the turn of like, what do they have to make? Do they have to sell 50,000 of these to show a profit, or 30? I have no idea what that number is, but we all know at the end of the day, this is a business for them. It's a hobby for us.
Sure.
It's hard, isn't it? Because like I said, I have an extensive D-Star network. Okay. I have a D-Star repeater a mile away from me. I use my 705 all the time for that, along with my HT and everything else. Other guys don't. So to them, the D-Star may mean absolutely nothing. I haven't tried. I've had this radio now for almost 3 years. I haven't even used D-Star on HF. And there's a whole bunch of guys using it on HF. I just haven't gone down that rabbit hole. So what do you do? What do you do when it comes to a radio? It's hard, but I agree with you. I don't think whatever radio comes out or doesn't come out, we're still not going to be happy.
Yeah, there's always going to be someone complaining about some feature that
they've sort of narrowed it down. Do you think they narrowed it down to smaller sizes that you can build in go boxes, various boxes? I don't care what the box is, from Harbor Freight to a whatever. It doesn't make a difference to a back. It does. They've narrowed down the size. Mm-hmm. Some have the internal tuner, some don't. Some have 10 watts, 5 to 10 watts. Some have 20 watts, right? So they've narrowed it down to there. But what else can you really do for them, for it to be a profit for them, Eric?
See, so this is kind of what I'm thinking. And it took me a little long road to figure out why Yaesu did not do what Todd and I was professing forever. Like, why couldn't we have a 705 killer with 100 watts? I know now why they can't, because they had a huge community of 818 and 817 user base. That was a big QRP base. And they very much wanted those radios both for satellite, and they wanted those radios for being able to do QRP, portable. That was a big thing for them. And so Yaesu had to fix that. And as we all know, if we watch Yaesu's track record, at least on the VHF, UHF side, they always do this. They iterate And then they realized that if they're going to start to standardize across the platform, they're going to have to get rid of radios and then use some bullshit excuse about why they had to get rid of it so they can just standardize the line. Like if you haven't noticed, like all their VHF, UHF line is all the same body. Like their faceplate just changes. And so now it becomes this a little bit of a different faceplate and firmware that's unique to whatever features they're trying to use. But I guarantee probably more than likely, if you look at like the toe-to-toe radios where they have APRS and all the extra bells and whistles, probably the guts are the same. And it's just a matter of just like what the face looks like and, kind of visuals.
They had to change the HT, the one that we have, Eric, to the 5 one because they ran out of, they didn't have the parts anymore. So they had to change the radio because they don't have enough parts to keep making them. So they upgraded, I guess. But my point is this. If you have a radio the size of the 705, right, and you do like what they did, the 2 bands, so you could do the satellite, why not try to get 100 watts in there? If you want to do QRP, you have that option. No one says on 100 watt, you can do QRP on an 891, but for those of you don't, then you would get both ranges. You would get the QRP guys, and you would get the...
This is what I think is going to happen. So 891, we all know.
I got to hold my thought on that, Todd.
It's 20 years old. It's 20 years old, I think, by this year or next year or something like that, or even already. And so they're going to have to replace that unit. So they're already showing us from the QRP, and they're doing the same kind of lockstep, format that that ICOM's doing with their 905, the 705, the 7760, kind of that whole face look format, form factor is all the same across all the brands. I think Yaesu's just doing the same thing. So we might see something, maybe not 2025, but maybe 2026, with a full 100-watt replacement for the 891. And it's going to be all of the things that we see in the 891, but with all of the new guts and features that we see like now in the 1F and the DX10 and the 710 and all that stuff.
So I'm brand new to Yaesu and the 891, and I've had it now. It's going to be a year now. It'll be a year in December. That was a Christmas present for myself last year. Right now, if I had to go buy another radio, I don't know what I would buy. And I'm glad I have a little bit of everything right now. Okay. But here's my point to what Todd says earlier. I think I would be happier, and I like my 891. The only thing I don't like is the menu system. I put the where I can kind of go to it fast, and certain things I can go like quick keys, that kind of thing. But I think if they just change the software to it, the cosmetic, what I see as the end user to get into the menus, I'm not saying do it like ICOM. I'm not saying that, and I don't know how the G90 does it, but if they just did it more appealing, as well as more with ease, I would be using that 891 a lot. It would encourage me when I go out and I do POD, instead of pumping out 100 watts, drop it down to 10 watts or 20 watts.
Well,
it's a pain in the neck. It's a pain in the neck to keep bouncing back and forth. I hate it. I rather change my antenna. Hold on, Eric. Do you know something? If I have a link dipole, my soda beams, my 2040, which doesn't make any sense, does it? But it's just, I rather change my links to go to 20 to 40 than spend the time in the menu of the radio. And I don't know why. Maybe I'm just messed up.
Well, okay. So I get the 891 menus is a little like we'll call 1980s, tell 1980s to come pick up their menu because in essence, it's pretty bad for the functionality of it. But it was created back then in the late 80s, early 90s, I think was when the radio kind of came out. Now, someone can look up the actual date. So we're just still stuck with this, old way of looking at, menuing systems. And I kind of think, that, if we get more towards you guys already have in the ICOM world, the old, I know how to get into my menus. Everything's visual. One's a button press, 2 steps here and there to be able to turn things on and off. Because I think Yaesu's, Todd, you can commit to this or, at least admit to it. The DX10 menu system is probably similar to the same 710 menu, right? Have you ever sat in front of a 710?
Yeah, they're exactly the same.
Yeah, so I'm almost guaranteed the 1F's going to look like that.
Yeah, but
you're gonna love this. All right, Yaesu FT891, first announced by Public at the 2016 Dayton Hamvention.
Oh boy! So do the math here, since we don't do maths.
So 2016.
So it's only 8 years old.
Only 9 years old? What? No, it can't be. I thought it was a lot older than that. Holy crap! Well,
You
then,
would have
damn.
thought.
I would have thought so too, man. Okay.
But, you know, I think that ham radio in the last 5 years, 10 years has really, the radios have had a huge jump, I think. You know, like I look at some of the old radios, some of the guys, you know, in our club that have like the older radio, and then I look at the newer stuff. I was like, and they're like, this is the best radio. And then you look at all the things that we've got now and the luxuries we have. I mean, having a waterfall 10 years ago was unheard of,
non-existent, right?
right?
Yeah.
And now it's like, if we don't have a waterfall, everyone's like, what? There's no waterfall. This radio sucks.
Panic, run away.
But you know, it's funny because like the 891, I mean, as much as I say, I hate the menu, but I don't even, a lot of times I don't use it as much as you need, because when you're doing POTA, you're pretty out of the noise. You know, unless the bands are producing like direct noise, like wherever you're at, but it's not like you have all the electricity in your house and you're getting these, you're just out there. So for me, I love the radio. Like I said, my biggest thing is I just wish it would be, we could get an upgrade where we could get, you know, a waterfall would be nice, but even, you know, just being able to have an easier menu that if you did have to pull someone out of the noise, like I've heard guys, like I've had weak signals on bad days where the propagation's bad, that I'm sure if I had my DX10 with me, I could have pulled them out and worked them. But with the 891, it was just, I mean, I could have sat there and tried to figure out how to get and push all those buttons and try to get, but by the time I did that, he'd probably be gone, or you know, the signal would have been lost. So that's all I'm saying. You know, like and then for the guys that want to do the QRP, and if they're like, oh, you don't need it. I mean, look at any radio can do QRP. And I think that it just makes sense to have both. You know, if you can keep the same size and you can add the higher wattage just to get you through. I mean, right now, everyone's loving life. Everyone's doing QRP because the bands are so good. But, you know, I've been out there where I spent 3 hours to make 10 contacts. Like it was that struggle. Right, because I was like, I'm not right. Like I was in Rhode Island, and I'm like, I was in like at the edge of this. I'm like, I am not getting my first park activation. I'm not going to fail on this. And I just sat there until I said, come on, people. I go, I need 2 more. Like, just,
you're absolutely right about that. Not only that, but ham sticks are the same thing too. You know, the wet noodle antenna, you're absolutely right. For right now, guys, enjoy it, love it. But when we hit the bottom of the cycle in about 7 more years, 8 more years, and we sit there for a while,
yeah,
CW QRP will still be great. FT8 low power will still be great. Voice is a whole different thing.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean,
that's great. When you tell me 7 years, when I retire, the bands are gonna suck. Just my luck.
And you'll have plenty of time to play radio.
I'll tell you,
like, when I was working, the bands were huge. Everyone's making I can't make freaking 5 contacts.
Well, then you can just go to 75 meters to complain.
Yeah,
you'll have more free time to just sit there.
That's
right. My biggest gripe is I actually like the 891, and I don't mind the menu system.
I don't either.
But let me tell you, like doing a POTA where you're only walking, you know, 10 feet to, you know, say 150 feet.
Right.
It's no big deal. You can lug your stuff and set up. But when you're doing, you know, a 4-mile hike, you know, up a mountain, like weight is everything.
Right.
Yep.
And so if the 891 was just you know, even a pound less, that's huge, you know?
It is a heavy radio.
It is. Let me tell you something. When I was mounting it in that 50 caliber can, I really didn't know.
Yeah.
Because I had it in the Gigaparts Explorer bag. And I wasn't really backpacking it like what you just said, Paul. It's take it out of the truck, open it up on the tailgate, open it up on the front seat of the pickup truck, go to a picnic bench or a park bench, whatever. There is a difference. You're absolutely right. There is a difference. Yep.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see on that 1F, because my gut feeling is that they're going to use the same menuing system as the 710 and the DX10. So we'll be almost, we'll say, par for the course when it came to matching what ICOM has had for ages across many lines of their radios. Now, the features and functionality, I'm hoping, they all say that they're going to deliver on having to be able to satellite, having to be able to see, full band all mode. Those features are going to be awesome because I would love to be able to do some 2-meter sideband. I would love to be able to do 70-meter sideband, and I don't have radios for that. I'm not going to go buy an ICOM. What 90 is it 9500? What's the 2-meter 440
VHF
gig?
one.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's
9700.
9700. Yeah, that's what.
9700.
Yeah, and that's another $1,500 for me to be able to play a little bit in the 2-meter space. But to have it portable, that's a bonus for me. That's the one thing I
That's a
love. The
huge
fact
bonus.
that ICOM guys, yeah.
Do you guys remember the ICOM 706 Mark II-G?
No,
Love that
Paul
radio.
does. He has got 3 of them or 2 of them.
I love that radio because it gave you everything at 100 watts, and turning the power down was so easy if you really wanted to play. It gave you the 2-meter repeaters, it gave you the simplex, it gave you the UHF. Back in the day when TV was broadcasting the analog signal for audio, you could still listen to your favorite TV station. And I used that for a lot of emergencies. Anytime power went out. It was almost like my 705 that did it all. And then ICOM just stopped. They stopped, right, Paul? And I don't know why. Why would you? Again, I would love for them just to come out and tell us. And, do you need us to, I also know price point, guys. Am I right or wrong? Price point is a big thing. Even when we have more money available to us, it's been tough years. Listen, we've seen bacon over $10, $12, $15 a pound. That's crazy.
Eggs now. And now it's like you can't get any freaking eggs for.
Well, we're still buying radios, but we're probably being maybe a little bit more careful, a little bit more selective, and we like that $100 manufacturer coupon or whatever, the Black Friday sale. Let's face it, we all like that. That's a good thing, right?
Yep.
But it's a very interesting thing of we want it. We all want it in our list of wants, but what are we going to pay for for all that too?
Yeah, well,
not $1,200.
Well, but
or maybe 1,500, Paul. Am I right?
Yeah.
It could be 1,500, 1,800 by the time you're all done with your wish list.
Well, let me throw this at you, Paul, because I get the price point side of things, because you obviously experienced it firsthand when you did that on the HC side, going to Baofeng to an FD3DR, and the audio quality, both in build and stuff like that with the radio. The same kind of goes with HF. I mean, you can go Zygu, you can go G90. Those are decent radios, but their receivers aren't always that great, like in terms of, say, sitting in front of a DX10 or sitting in front of a 705 and all of those types of radios, because they're built well for the purpose of, receiving signals and processing them the right way. And those are good. But even then, like, you look at price points between a 705 and a DX10, I mean, it's like a couple $100. And at that point, you're like, which way do I go? Like, do I want to stay more at home, or do I want to be more portable? That really is where your money's going to kind of decide.
Now this is what I didn't understand with the Yaesu, the 710 and the DX10, right? Like, they're so similar. What is it? The 710's a little bit smaller, but I've got my DX10 in a Go box. Eric and I used it once in the Rove. We brought it out with us. I mean,
well, the DX10 has the HET receiver as well as the SDR. So the 710 is only an SDR type radio, which matches the 7300. The DX10 has both the heterodyne receiver and the SDR.
Do you really notice a difference with? Do you?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. For the average guy like me, hold on. For the average guy like me, Todd, am I gonna I'm not the big contester. I'm not the big. Will I notice a difference, you think?
Well, you're asking the wrong person, because I went from a DX10 to a Flex. I didn't take the DX10. I said nothing's going to beat this for me, and then I got the Flex. I'm like, well, that beat it.
No, but when you got your first DX10, dude, you constantly were like, I love the DSP, I love the contour, I love the shift, I love to be able to knock the noise out, and you were like, I can get signals anywhere.
What do you mean you couldn't? get signals.
No, you can get signals anyway.
Oh yeah. Yeah, look, I love my DX10. Like I figured that was going to be my radio for the next 30 years. Like I was like, why do I need anything better than this? And then I started doing those stupid overnight shifts, and I couldn't play radio. And then I was going to buy the 991A to make a go box, and I was like, well, if I'm going to spend that kind of money, and then my friends, Eric, Paul, Bill, our president,
I would have told you go ICOM.
But, you know, they said, why don't you look at a flex? You know, Ryan, he was like, hey, why don't you look at a flex? You know, this would be good. And, you know, I did some research and stuff, and then I couldn't be happier with it. I mean, the flex is an amazing radio. And when I like to, like, if I'm listening to something, I hear noise, like the flex, you can take everything out if you want. Like if you go on both sides as many times as you want to get all the noise out.
No kidding. See, that I didn't know, really.
Yeah, it's awesome. And like, so, you know, the flex is great for in the shack, but the DX10 is a great field day radio for me, both winter and summer. It will be a local POTA radio where if I know I'm going to, like when we do our POTA thing for the club, that's when I'd bring. If I'm going to go sit at a park for a day and I know I'm not going to be moving around, I'd definitely bring the DX10. But
does that radio make it fun when the bands are so congested? Because you mentioned field day, winter field day, sweepstakes, I guess, side band sweepstakes. The bands are so damn congested.
Yeah.
And sometimes it kind of takes the wind out of our sails. I've noticed that. It does it for me, but I still ham harder, as they say. So you're telling me that radio actually makes it fun now compared to where we were 20, 30 years ago, where you had to just deal with it.
Yeah, I wasn't around.
Maybe notch filter, notch it out a little bit, but
yeah. I mean, again, this was my first real. I mean, I had the 891 first, so that doesn't really count because I was just doing POTA with it. But when I got the DX10, and I had a couple guys outside, one of the guys outside our club was like, hey, you really don't, I have the 991A and you're going to outgrow and you're going to wish you got the DX10. And the DX10 had just came out and there was a sale on it. And I just pulled the trigger and I loved it. I was like, this thing is
really
awesome. Yeah. And then Eric came over and he was hanging out in my shack and you were using it for a while. And then he bought one. So it's like, I think it's a great radio. I mean, I have nothing negative to say about it. I mean, it's just I wouldn't.
Does it do everything you want?
Yes, and more.
That's the big question. That's the big question.
And stuff that I haven't even tried to do yet. Like I haven't done CW, but I know the thing will read out the CW. Like it'll print it out. Like it'll tell you what it's saying. Decode it. But I know Tim used a DX10. I think he used yours, right, Eric? And he was doing CW on it. And I think that's the biggest thing of why he didn't get the 7300 was because of that. Because he's really into CW, and I think it was just a better radio for that. So that's just kind of my thoughts on it. I mean, again, everyone's got their own preferences. My biggest thing right now is I'm more of a POTA guy. I do a lot of my ham radio outside the shack, doing the portable stuff. And I really would like to have just a small, better radio that I can use the filters very easily or easy accessible and I can do quickly, especially when I'm trying to work someone. And like, I've had times where I've been trying to work and they're coming in and out of noise and I'm getting noise on one end and I can't get it out. And I know if I had my DX10, I could have just got it out and I would have heard the guy.
See, so, I'm thinking, because maybe like what Paul said before, because I kind of agree with Paul, as well as Eric. If the 705 would just give me 40 more watts, I would be happy with 50 watts, but still give me, even if they made it a little bit bigger, or maybe a slightly, for how I'm going to use it. I'm not climbing the mountains with, but still, I like the idea of that 705. The cosmetic look where everything just give me a little bit more horsepower. That's all I want, ICOM. That's all I want. But I don't know if that's a wish that can be granted.
Well, that's an interesting spin there, because like if you talk to like we'll say like you look at the diehard QRPers, so K6ARK, I'm trying to think, Red Summit RF, all those guys.
Good point.
I don't think they're bringing 705s with them. Are they going up on the hilltops with 705s? Or are they bringing up something smaller?
Something smaller.
Smaller.
Right. So like, is a QRP like QRP? Like, I think one of the things we get lost a lot of times, this QRP stuff is really kind of really geared for POTA. That's the market that it's going to fit in, because you want something a little smaller than bringing a 710 or a DX10 to plop on a picnic bench, because you're worried that you're going to break it, or you're worried it's going to fall off and get damaged like a certain 7300 we all know and love. It's kind of like all of those things. It's like, so if you have something like a 705, that's a good compromise because you're getting lightness, but you're also getting a good functionality. But like, I know, like, when I do soda, and we're going to be doing soda in December, I'm not bringing my 891. My FX4CR is going to be in my bag. And like Paul said, everything's light, man, as light as you could possibly make it. And so, that's a whole new genre of radio.
So we're using, so then 705 is a novelty. I've thought about getting the amplifier, Paul. I just haven't decided, do I want to do that? And why would I do that when I have two 7300s and I got an 891 right here? Why would I put an amplifier on there?
How much is the amplifier for it?
I think it's like $400, somewhere around there.
And I was going to go with the Hard Rock. I was going to go with the Hard Rock 50 is what I was going to go with.
And it bumps it up to 50 watts?
Yeah.
100. So the Neptune is 100.
Right. Neptune's 100. And you guys are making some excellent points of, are we using for novelties, or because just when I said I don't really need, what did I say 10 minutes ago? I'm not going to buy another. That FXCR is a radio that has me so intrigued because of Kevin. K0KLB is using it, and so many other people. And I'm like, man. Again, I'm no backpacker, but man, do I want, like, I feel like I'm turning into like the Jay Leno, who has the warehouse of vehicles, and I'm turning my house into a warehouse of radios. And what am I going to do today? And which one do I want to take out? You know?
Well, that's exactly it, right? You want a stable of radios, and then today is going to be the color blue, so I'm going to bring up Mark 2G.
Let's face it, we all have a stable of antennas. We all have the stable. No one has one antenna. If I know one guy who has one antenna, he is far and few between, or he's lying because he doesn't want to let anyone know. Everyone has a lot of antennas. We all
have one antenna. It's a vertical, but I have many verticals.
So Eric, I got to touch on this just because you asked the question, all right, and at the same time that you asked the question, Brad was in the chat and he was asking, what base station for all mode would be recommended?
Yeah, good question.
Okay, well, this is where I got to say none of the new radios, because of their price points, can beat what the 706 Mark II-G can do. Yep. You can pick them up used between $400 and $500. They're fantastic radios. And for somebody just getting started out, it's tough to shell out, $1,000 to $1,500 for a freaking radio that you don't know that you're going to love, right? You get that 706 Mark II-G. It's a fantastic radio. Everybody that's ever owned one has said 100%, hands down, it is a great radio, even though it's old. That's where I got to say, there isn't any of the new radios that can compete with that shack in a box, small little form factor of the 706.
Paul, I will not sell mine. I will not sell mine. No. I can't, because I think I will cry. There's not too many things in life that make me cry. I think I would, and I think I would regret it, even though it doesn't get the amount of use as it should. You know what I mean? But it's a great radio.
I see it. This is kind of where I think the 706 shines really well. It's like I have always been, and my ham life has always been in front of a radio that is not an SDR. I started out with just the old frequency counter on the front and a bunch of filters. And one thing that I learned very well is to have the understanding and be able to have the ability to be able to understand how to use a contour, how to use a notch, how to use a shift, how to be able to tune the frequency to be able to listen to the signal that I want and then be able to knock out the noise left or right of it. Every new ham that I've run into are like, oh, I want to go buy the 7300 with a pretty waterfall and everything. I'm like, okay, dude, great. But you're going to be in the same spot that you are frustrated with the radio because you don't know how to use those features in the radio because you're so enamored with the display. And so I always recommend to any new ham, like go the 706, go an FT450D Yaesu radio. a 905. I can't remember what Kenwoods were. There's a couple of Kenwood models that are just the frequency HF 6 meters.
They had the something 50.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, hold on. Hey, Eric, good point though. Like you being an older ham, those radios were the filter options. You had to pay for those.
Yeah.
So a lot of those things that you can pick up at the Ham Fest, the tailgating section, may or may not have the filter in it. And I don't know, and I'm not well versed if those can still be unscrew the thing, plug and play, pop it in, put it back in, turn it on. It's there. I don't know. Maybe they can be if the filters are still available on a 30-year-old rig, but
most of those rigs are solid state and they're relatively new. So. Yeah, you're going to find stuff with a basic tuner in it. You're going to find some with a basic notch. And if you get into the Yaesu's world, their DSP is a decent DSP.
But they're a great radio. I do agree with you. There's some great radios to get your feet wet if you have that opportunity. I started off on a TS 130, I think it was, or 120. I didn't know what I was doing. I just like, again, that big VFO right there. And you're just kind of, and then all of a sudden they started changing the meter. Remember when they started changing the meters around? Someone went digital, someone went more. But I think before you're going to plop $1,000, $1,500, you get into all your accessories. My grandfather taught me, put your money into feed line and antennas. That's where you want to do. He says, yes, some receivers on these radios are going to be better. And I have done it. I have taken, and I mean, this is no disrespect because it was just how when it came out. I took my 706 one day and I on the antenna switch. I was bopping back and forth between the 705 listening to a station versus the 706. Much better clarity on the 705. And I was running it apples to apples. There was no, none of this crazy filtering and not just, I picked out a bunch of guys in the morning on 40 meters, the E-cars. And I was just going back and forth. But still, it doesn't stop you from making contacts. Exactly. It doesn't stop you from. So save a few over here, but put it over here. I'm a firm believer. Put it into feed line and antennas. That's where you got to put your money into.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a whole new topic. I don't know what's over.
I'm sorry. That'll be for next week's show.
Yeah, exactly. So we could beat this horse a little bit to death. So let's kind of shift in. Anybody else got another one they want to throw in the ring? I know Paul went hot out of the gate there. Izzo, Todd, you guys got any you want to throw in the ring there?
Go ahead, Todd.
For my predictions?
Yeah, or things you'd like to change in the hobby for 2025 or hope to change.
I'd like to get less I'd like to see people who don't like POTA respect it a little bit more. This year I had a couple I happened to be on a frequency for an hour when I was in North Carolina, and some of you guys have heard this story, but I got a guy who was basically like, get the hell off my thing, we're doing a net, and totally disrespectful. And then he thought I left, and he's sitting there on the radio trashing POTA and trashing new hams, and we shouldn't be allowed to do that. And I know that there's been a lot of talk about that. I've seen some of the stuff on some of the YouTube stuff, and ham radio is about when we all have our things, and if you don't like POTA, that's fine. But I would hope that people would just be a little bit more, people who are against it, at least get to know it. Don't knock it till you've tried it, right? And and I've seen it now. Like we've done our ham outings, right? What do we call them, Eric? The
POTA meetups.
POTA meetups, and we've gotten a lot of guys that have never done it before who are now really getting into it. And they're talking about it on the local repeaters about, I'm doing a POTA. This is great. I got this many contacts. I did that. And like I said, if you don't like something, don't trash until you've tried it. So I'm just hoping that when I'm doing POTAs and I happen to be on a frequency and there's a net on that frequency, which I had no idea, just to be, hey man, we normally do a net on here. Do you mind leaving instead of get off the air?
Yeah.
This is what our net's on. And it's
my frequency.
Yeah, and
I'm holding the Todd. I'm holding the frequency. Yeah. It starts at 3:00. It's only 11 a.m., but I'm holding the frequency.
Right.
For what?
Emotional damage.
So that that's something. And then my other prediction is, I'm hoping it comes true, is that I actually get my extra.
For 2025, yes. We hope.
I don't know if I could deal with this something extra for another year. So.
We shared that same sentiment, Todd. Let's move on.
Speaking of, are we going to do something extra?
We only had 3, so again, the offer's still on the table. If you guys want to have a something extra segment, throw a 1 in the chat. We got 20 people here, so we got to have at least more than I'm saying like maybe 8 or 10 people that want in on having a
Listen,
something extra.
I counted 6 earlier, so
okay, so we got 6, so we only need 4 more. So we need 4 more 1s in the chats there if you want us to do a little something extra and test Todd on section 5 this time.
Yeah, who said that they were studying for their extra 2?
Oh, we got another one there. That was Brad.
Brad. Yeah. So Brad, why don't you if we do this, why don't you put the answer in the chat, and after I say what the answer is, tell me what you think, and we'll go from there.
Ryan's double voting there. Oh, he's triple voting.
Todd, it's very interesting because I think back in the days where when I bought my 7300 and I threw the antenna up and I was going up and down like I did when I was a kid, taking that VFO, and you would hear a net just by chance, or if you had the old net directory, or you went to the internet and you got the net, other than that, you really maybe a little DX here and there, you really didn't hear stuff. Mm-hmm. And then you shut off the radio and you went and you did something else. I think that was the life of a lot of us. Now that POTA has become part of this hobby, there is plenty of frequency for everybody, but some people are still claiming, get off my lawn. I've been here first. I think that's going to happen no matter what. It's all how you deal with it, right? And like Paul is saying, sad hams. He's absolutely right. Sad hams are the worst. But if it wasn't for POTA, they would find another topic,
right,
to be doing their battle cry. Mm-hmm. But it's nice to hear the POTA activators when I'm sitting home. And I'm a weird one. I'll go activate, even if it's just one part. Come home, put everything away, see what's going on, grab a cigar, and next thing I know, I'm sitting in front of a radio and I'm hunting. That's the kind of junkie I am. But I like it. I like just taking that VFO, especially on the waterfalls now. We didn't mention that before when we were talking radios. Who has waterfalls or who doesn't?
Right.
But it's nice to hear stations. It's nice for us to learn now propagation. You want to try a different antenna on your property. I think POTA gives so many opportunities, not only and we could spend hours and hours talking about what it's like to be an activator. I don't think we talk enough about the opportunities for the hunters.
Mm-hmm.
Don, I'll tell you, the greatest asset to a POTA hunter is having the POTA DX cluster on your computer.
Yep.
So I use N3 FJP, right?
Yep.
And so I have the DX cluster running in that, and it's POTA only. And so I'll have the little window with all the POTA spots.
Right.
And I'll just click on each one, and I'll go from the bottom of the band to the top of the band, and I'll just keep going and getting them. I don't need the waterfall.
No.
That too.
Bottom page.
Do you know? I'm gonna tell you a secret, and I'm a bad ham. Call me a bad ham. You call me right now. I buy these radios, and I wasn't using the waterfall for the longest freaking time until I started seeing the guys on Saturday Night Crash Course. Josh and a whole bunch of other guys using these waterfalls. I'm like, why? And then all of a sudden, it kind of got a little addicting. But there are times when I shut that menu off and I just go back to the traditional screen. I do that too.
I like to use the waterfall. Like if I just turn on the radio, see what's going on, and you'll see like a strong signal. You see a real active signal, and like nothing else is going on a band. And I go over there like, what are those guys talking about? And a lot of times you'll hear people having good conversations, or you might only get one half of it. When I was new to HF, I couldn't understand why I couldn't hear the other guy. I could only hear the one guy, but I couldn't get. So that's kind of, and then I've done some HF nets where, they do the relay. So that's kind of cool too.
I went to the doctors this morning and I got some hemorrhoid cream for my hemorrhoids, and I got a surgery coming up.
I think all of us have had two scenarios, and they happen. One maybe happens a little bit more frequently. I'm on a frequency. I'm doing my POTA. Whether I got 10 in or 100, it doesn't make a difference. And some guy works me, and he'll say, "Hey, we have a net coming up in the next 10 minutes. Do you mind?" Absolutely not. Oh, by the way, can I have your call sign? Sure. He gives me his call sign. I put him in. I log him as a contact, obviously, but I move. It's so easy for me to move. I like to respect the nets because one, a lot of them have a long legacy of being there. And maybe someday when I'm in my 80s and my 90s and I want to hang out on the potato net and this and that and that, I don't care what your net is. Okay. If there are two people enjoying and more, that's fun. That's what this hobby is. It's fun. It's easier for me to move. Just don't come in and become demanding. That's one thing that I don't understand why some hams do that. They must do it for everything else. When they go into the grocery store and it's, I wanted to use cash. Right, in the deli counter or at the self-serve cash registers or whatever. That's my cash register, and don't you use it? Come on, relax. There's plenty of cash registers here for everybody. Yes, but just say it nicely. That's all you got to do. I don't think any of us as POTA don't mind moving because we have an opportunity to do what? Move. We just respot ourselves, especially. Especially if you're in the middle, Todd. If Todd's in the middle of something and he knows he's got, hey, guys, I'm moving. Give me a few minutes. You know what we're going to do? We're waiting. We are salivating, waiting for Todd to show up on that spotting page. And what are we going to do? We're going to follow Todd. It's so easy.
Yeah, I didn't care. I don't care about moving. It was just this guy's attitude towards it was like demanding that I get off. And, he said, I'll report you to the FCC. And I said, go ahead. I've got a log that shows I've been here for an hour.
One guy declined to give me his call sign. Fine. Yeah. I don't want, tell you what, you know what I said? Fine. I don't even want you in my POTA log then. 7-3s, QSY. Hey, guys, anyone who's listening, look for me on the spotting page in a few minutes. Boom. Yeah. I was back in the grind. Back in the rhythm again.
And that's what I basically did. I said, fine, I'll leave. And then I didn't change the frequency, and I was looking to see kind of where I was going to go. And I was doing it. The guy just started talking smack about me. I'm like, buddy, I'm still here. And Eric's like, did you record it? Did you record it? I'm like, no, I didn't have the recording. He goes, you got to record it. It would have gone viral.
Yeah, you got to record it. Send it to Jason.
Relax.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like I said, it was an experience, but I mean, I've heard it before. I've listened, I've heard guys, when I've been hunting or whatever, I've heard people getting up there and getting all mad because, that frequency happens to be like they're doing a net or something, or it's where they rag chew with their buddy every day at this, that. And, again, a little respect goes a long way because I don't think there's anyone who's a POTA activator is going to really care too much about leaving. And the other thing with POTA is I wish people wouldn't freaking tune up on my pile-offs. It drives me nuts.
Don't get me going. All right, well, let's put a pin in this for a second since we've got our 10. I counted 10 in the chat that all wanted to do, our something extra with Todd. So without further ado.
And now for something a little extra with Todd W1STJ.
Paul, you have too much fun with this.
Yes, he does.
I love this is fun. I am not going to read the script. We are just going to dive headfirst into the questions. So take it over, VE Quizmaster. No, I don't need to be in full screen, my friend. Come on.
You're in the wrong position.
Worst. Yes, do your worst.
All right, Todd. VE Quizmaster here.
Actually, let's pause here. Izzo, since are you general or extra yet?
I'm general, and I remember these. And I remember this type of questions. I hate these questions. You want to know why? Because it means nothing to me for how I use my hobby.
I know. I'm right there with you.
And I become very stubborn. That why do I have to learn this?
Then I will manage the chat, and Izzo, you can take my place in answering my question, right answer for every question. So in our usual banter back and forth, Todd answers.
You got to wait till after Todd, though.
Todd.
Okay, okay, fine.
Anyone in the chat wants to chime in after I answer, go right ahead.
Yep.
All right.
Begin.
All right. Question number 1. What is the resonant frequency of an RLC circuit if R is 33 ohms L is 50 microhenries, and C is 10 picofarads. Is it A, 7.12 kilohertz, B, 7.12 megahertz, C, 23.5 megahertz, or D, 23.5 kilohertz?
I'm gonna go with B.
Okay,
Look at
quick
that.
on the draw.
Yes.
Izzo, what do you got?
No idea. So I'm gonna just say C because that's the random when you get 4. I'm gonna say C.
The most common.
All right, Brad is also studying for his extra, and he says B. Todd, what did you say? C?
No, B.
B. Okay.
Izzo said C.
C.
Oh,
And
yeah.
B is
Very good.
correct.
There you go, Brad.
No, I'm sure there's
Great
an
job.
equation. I'm sure there's an equation to learn without memorizing. I'm sure there's an equation, correct?
There you
For our
go. The
friend?
formula for resonant frequency is frequency equals 1 over 2 pi square root of LC.
Oh yeah, I remember that equation.
No disrespect to our hobby, means absolutely nothing to me.
Well,
Amen
so
to
here's a hint. Alternative for Formula Week, folks. Given the
Yep.
first digits in the question, 7 is the next number in the sequence. So if you can remember that, then you don't
Okay.
have to do the math.
Woohoo.
All right, here we go. Question number 2. What is the phase angle between the voltage across and the current through a series RLC circuit if XC is 500 ohms, R is 1 kilo ohm, and XL is 250 ohms? Dude, sub-element number 5 is full of math, and I love it.
You
Is
see how
the
much
answer
fun he has with this?
is the answer A, 14 degrees with the voltage lagging the current? B, 68.2 degrees with the voltage lagging the current? C, 68.2 degrees with the voltage leading the current? Or is it D, 14 degrees with the voltage leading the current?
I'm gonna go with A.
I think it's a lagging, and I don't know which one. So whatever. Tell you
With
what,
A.
you said A.
Go
Okay,
with A.
Okay.
Okay, any other takers in the chat? Throw it in there quick.
Brad's got B.
A is correct.
All right.
Woohoo.
And so there's your
I don't know why I'm playing that one. No one got
Right.
it.
I got it. What are you talking
I
about?
got
did
it
you?
right.
Oh, okay.
got it
all
I
right.
got it right.
Great job.
There you go.
Now, Izzo, I got to get this next one right, or we got to hear the song.
Superb.
Okay.
So
You know,
there's
you know what the song is?
Oh,
No.
don't let him
Surprise
him.
me. Just
Yeah,
surprise me.
Well, hopefully I'll get it right and you won't have to hear it.
all right. Question number 3 for the third and final question of the evening. What is the phase relationship between the current through and the voltage across a series resonant circuit at resonance? Is it A, the voltage and current are 180 degrees out of phase? B, the current leads the voltage by 90 degrees? C, the voltage leads the current by 90 degrees? Or D, the voltage and current are in phase?
I'm going to go with D.
I think it's B for some reason. But then again, I'm just guessing, but I think it's a B.
Let's go, Brad. What do you got there, buddy?
All right, come on, Brad. Throw that letter in the chat. You said
Oh,
D,
yeah,
Todd?
he's with me. There you go. 3 out of 3. Let's go. Yeah.
Nice job, guys.
D is correct.
Wow.
Perfect. Congratulations.
I think Brad
Wow.
got 2 out of 3, so you could play it for him. Here you go, Brad.
He do next.
Nice.
All right. Well, that was a fun segue.
All right, that's good. better than the other day. So
Hey,
that's
works
good.
like well under pressure, man. That's awesome. All right. Well,
I love doing the VE questions.
yes. Yeah, well, he's our VE, supreme headmaster of our club.
You know, when last year when I was studying and I got serious, and sometimes I have learned in my life, it's hard to take on something new. I don't mean to be an excuse. You just have to be mentally there, and I'm not right now, and it's just not an excuse. It's just I just know how I am. But I tried something different, and I forget the app that I was using. It was one of the online stuff. There was a great app, but I
Ham
was
study?
doing. It might have been Ham Study, and there's another one, but I was going back. It was definitely Ham Study, but I was doing it at night, and I said I am going to dedicate myself 45 minutes every single night before I go to sleep, because there was something that I read, and I don't know how true it is. Guys, help me out. If you retain knowledge at night, it stays with you. So the next day, and I would hit that same area again. I'd grab it in the morning. And believe it or not, at work, I go downstairs into the bathroom. I take 15, 20 minutes and real quickly kind of, boom, 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 go back. And I started getting good. There are certain topics in that extra. I really get it. I comprehend it. I get it. But then it comes to that electrical stuff that I'm like, oh, it's like hitting the wall. It's hitting the wall. And I don't want to memorize it. And a lot of guys were telling me, hey, listen, memorize this. Who cares if you pass? We don't ask the brain surgeon how many right or wrong. We don't ask the lawyer. But it was just more of a thing of, I kind of wanted to learn why it like for that answer. Why was D correct? Why is it? Can someone just put it in layman's terms? And nobody has been able to give it to me in layman's terms. So that's my keep hitting the wall thing.
Well, that's why it's a license to learn, my friend.
It is. It really is.
So I do like what you said at night. I try to, but I have a lot of like time where I call it downtime. Like, for example, I got to go to court tomorrow. Court's probably going to be backed up. I got to be there on time. And what'll happen is I'll sit there maybe for an hour, 2 hours with nothing to do. So I just get on my phone, the Ham Study app, and I just keep going through the questions. And the thing works great. If you don't know the answer, you hit that info button, it tells you, or the question mark, it'll tell you what the answer is. I mean, it's just really, and then what I do is after I get when I get to 80 or above on section 5, which I'm there now, I'm going to do study 1 through 4. Well, I mean, 1 through 5, get all of them.
Right.
And then when when I get up to 80 and I stay at 80 or 90 and I'm getting those random questions, I'll move on to 6. I'll focus on 6. And once I get that to 80 or 90, I'll go back and I'll do 1 through 6. And that's how I've been doing it. And the stuff is retaining in. And
good.
I found that once I got my general and then practicing radio, I understand the extra stuff a lot better than I think I would have if I just went like from technician right to extra. You know what I mean? Like maybe I should have studied right away to get my extra because the general stuff would have been in. But I know that some of the questions when I hear them for the first time and I have no idea, at least I'm in the general area. Like, oh yeah, it's got to be that one because of something else I knew. So it's been an experience, but it is. I mean, I don't know where, my background is absolutely nothing to do with radio, math, electronics, nothing. I mean, I took my technician. I knew green was ground. That was it.
Right.
So to me, it's like learning a
good
new language.
Boy, what is it? Every good boy deserves. What's the resistor color? Was it the resistor colors? No, it's not every brew. What is it now?
Every good boy does fine. You talking about the musical?
No. But the colors.
Oh,
on.
I could never tell you what that was.
I learned that, but I learned that when I was 10 years old through my grandfather. See, and he's probably rolling around in his grave by now, saying, "Jesus, Izzo, for 32 years now you've been a ham. You still can't get your extra." No, it doesn't interest me. Even though, yes, would it be nice to have? Because when Paul was mentioning the DX cluster, there have been times when I'm looking at stuff on 40 and 20, and there's some DX in there, and I'm hearing, and I can hear them, but I can't transmit.
Right. I've had that same experience. I'm like, oh, if I only had my...
It's frustrating, Yeah.
So here's one for you. This is kind of a combination one I'll throw in the ring, and you guys can debate this one. So first one is I predict by 2025 we are going to have over an 80% surge of appliance only ham radio operators.
How much? What percentage?
80%.
Appliance?
It's like people who just get in front of something, press a couple of buttons, and play radio.
Like you.
Well, exactly like me. Yeah. Thank you.
I was talking about Todd, but yeah, Todd, you are totally an appliance operator. You don't care how it works. You don't want to understand anything about building it or any of that. You just want to sit in front of it and use it.
Do radio. Right.
Absolutely.
That's
what
an
I'm gonna be
appliance
called.
operator.
All right, I'm an appliance operator. It's the same thing with my planes. I don't care about building them. I don't care how they work. I just want them to work. That's it. I like to fly them. Right? What was that movie that Tom Cruise was in, Days of Thunder? Right? He's like, how can you not understand how a motor or a car works? He goes, I don't know. He goes, I just drive them. They put me in the car and they told me to drive. Well, that's the way I am with ham radio. Just put me in front of radio and I'll operate.
See, I like the antenna stuff. I like it when someone can teach me the deep dive of why this antenna does. That's why like when Ape and the boys from Coffee and Ham Radio and they're grabbing a toroid. I didn't really know what a toroid was. And they're putting wire around it. And now they're soldering one end and this turn. And this, again, I haven't deeped up, but I love it's very fascinating. I love watching that stuff. I feel like
I think that's a natural
I get
progression.
smarter.
Though.
I feel like I get smarter by watching those guys. I'm like, oh my God. And then and a few other shows that also do that. The guys who do it right, mind you. The radio stuff is different though, right, Eric? Isn't there?
Let me throw the caveat to that. So like I said, I predict about 80% will be appliance operators, especially new technicians. Not in a bad way, but to say that that's going to be the general inflow while we're going through cycle 25. However, I know, and this is kind of more towards, we'll say, the older ham generation, that you guys have an opportunity to introduce the stuff you were just talking about, Izzo. So like how to understand what a toroid does in an antenna and how to eventually get to the point of, winding one, or how to build, a simple, project. And like there are a bunch of other podcasts out there that all get their feathers ruffled about like, oh, well, you don't build the radio, so you have no idea, what it really means to be a radio, ham operator. I'm like, yeah, I do. I mean, literally open my eyes a little bit more, show me a little bit more. And that's kind of, I guess, what I'm trying to say to most people on our chat and in general, be that mentor, but more so be open to someone who might not have a desire, who's more of the appliance operator. Don't shun them. Make them feel integrated, and then show them the rest of the world.
Like Izzo said earlier, it's like the stuff like when you the math and all that stuff. Like for guys like me and maybe you, Izzo, if I'm speaking out of line, let me know. But like that stuff is just overwhelming to me.
Same here. Yes,
right.
Correct.
I'm with you though. I like to understand how, if there was a way to teach people like me how antennas work, how the radio work in like layman's terms or terms that I can relate to. It would be more interesting for me. And the way I do it is like, I'm a hands-on learner. So like when I put my DX Commander together, it's like, I'm going to physically be cutting wires and doing it together. It's going to be, I'm going to learn from that. And I'm going to understand why that is the way it is and why it's cut that length and how that all works. And, oh, that makes sense to me. And again, when I got my POTA antenna, what's the antenna called? Help me out, Eric.
Which you're talking about your Buddy Pole Pro,
right?
Your only antenna that you swear by?
Yeah, the Buddy Pole Pro. I just call it my antenna. I swear by that. It's the best POTA antenna out there. I love it. I bring it everywhere.
Says Todd, W1STJ.
Do you know, Todd, when I built my DX Commander, I was so happy. There I am in the garage with the sawhorses, all extended out, the nice wire. And then I effed it up. Because I took such a deep dive, I didn't step back and say, wait a minute, the measurements Callum has given me is for him and for the UK. It worked, but it didn't work for me. So then I had to stop and figure it out. And then when I did, and I just changed my ground radios, not the number, but just the length of them.
Yeah.
It worked. And I was dancing around in the backyard here. The neighbors were getting ready to say, hey, bring this guy to the hospital and lock him up and put him in the rubber room. They didn't
9-1.
understand. They didn't. It wouldn't be the first time they said that. But yes, it was such I felt like a ham radio operator, because the last time I did that was back in the 90s, and I built a G5 RV, and it was so funny.
So, Don, the easiest extra math to ever remember. Okay.
Okay.
Now, granted, this is metric. Okay. But it's frequency divided by 300. That will give you your wire length in meters.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
I want to say, and I know I'm gonna fuck this all up, but it's frequency divided by 460.
408, 480. Is it 468 or 486? I got it written in the garage. Believe it or not, on the wall in the garage. Yeah.
But so that's the formula for feet.
Right.
But metric is easy, right? It's just frequency divided by 300. It's easy to remember.
Yeah.
Good point. Good point. But no, but you build those antennas, you get this but it could be the same thing for radios, but I can't see voltage. I could hold something to do with when they guys were teaching me about unbalanced line, coax, show me that this dielectric does this, but when you have this, that stuff was resonating inside me much easier than, if you take this here and you change a picofarad here to a I'm like, I'm like, just throw me inside the tornado.
So Izzo, our club, we meet at this guy's barn, Mike's barn, and on Saturday mornings. And, I went there the first time, and I was probably the youngest guy there by 20 years. And I come back, and my wife's like, so how was it? And I'm like, yeah, just a bunch of old guys talking about shit I don't understand. She goes, you gonna go back? I'm like, yeah, I think I'll get smarter if I hang out with them a little bit. So then I started going back and still didn't know anything, and just nod my head. And believe it or not, me hearing this stuff and talking about it, I start to understand now over the 4 years that I've been going, that I start to understand what they're talking about. And at least I'm in the same, before I was kind of out in the bleacher seats. Now at least I'm in the front row, and
you're starting to understand concept, I bet,
yeah,
right?
Concept,
because when I watch Ham Nuggets and those guys, again, it's so above me, but just every once in a while, something resonates with me, and I feel happy for about a second or two. And then they go, but that's okay though, because hey, listen, you might as well learn. You might as well have fun learning something without getting a headache and driving your truck off the road. You just have fun with this hobby.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. And like I said, I've made great friends, and Eric's taught me a ton of stuff about just about everything about ham radio. I mean, I didn't know how to operate because you get your technician, then you get your general, and I had no idea what I was doing. And we went out and did my first POTA, and I screwed it up big time. And he didn't say, well, I'm never going out with this guy again. He goes, so when we going out again?
We all screw up screw up. My first one mine was a POTA. I said, I'm going to do it in the backyard here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? It was right there in front of me. Yeah. And once I did that, it just started clicking, and then here comes the addiction. And I don't care. It's a damn good addiction as far as I'm concerned. So we all have our poisons. So.
This is one good addiction that I think we all share.
Hey, Eric, I got some for you. I got a couple things. Unless you have a few more.
No, go.
CB FM 11 meters will not take off.
I agree.
Not yet. Not in 2025. It is going to be a while, and even if I will not put money on this one. I wish it would.
Clarify though, in the ham community or in the CB community?
In the CB community, I don't think it, and I mean that as no disrespect, because I still use my CB all the time.
I don't even have one.
Oh yeah, me too.
I have a tiny little president that's probably the size of my smartphone, sits in between the wedge of I have what's called a Havas console where all my public safety radios are, and in between my seat. it's not going to take off. It's going to. I think we're a long way. I think the manufacturers. I don't know why. I don't know. I had nothing to base it. It's just a gut feeling. I don't see a whole bunch of guys migrating up to a different mode for that band. And maybe it will, maybe it won't. I guess time will tell. That's number one. I'll start off wide, and then I'm going to go deep into it real fast. Follow me. Overlanding will continue to grow. The overlanding groups will continue to grow. We won't see it here in Connecticut. We're not an overlanding state. There's really not a lot. I'm not sure what you guys have up there in North.
Not up here, really.
There
Not
is.
for
It's not
overlanding.
well,
You probably
it's
have
a
more than what I have.
Smaller
Yeah.
concentration, but nothing like it is out in the Midwest. Or
Right.
you know,
So, but in the Midwest, I predict that will grow. And if the economy grows and guys have more money it's going to take off. Now, what's going to happen with them? They're going to follow the herd of GMRS. I think GMRS is a nice fit for them. Some of them may not have any inkling to what ham radio is. They may know an old guy down the street with the big antenna. You know how that story goes, right? But some of them will gravitate, and I don't think we're going to see the influx immediately in 2025, but you will see an influx of ham radio operators coming out of the GMRS world. And I'll tell you where they're going to find out, or what they're going to find. Similar to what we were talking about earlier tonight. Shortfalls. GMRS is great if you have the big repeater next to you. If you've got the portable repeater box that gives you maybe 3 to 5 miles, depending on where the antenna is.
Yep.
It's not going to give them what they really want. And just like when you guys drink your whiskey and your brandy, or when I have a good smoke, they're going to want more. And I think that's going to put them into ham radio. It may not put them all into POTA. Some of them will go to POTA. But I think you will start to see that graduating in 2025, 2026. I don't know why. I just have this gut feeling on that.
I think you're onto something, Izzo, because I mean, I've noticed that a lot of trucks driving now they got the CB and they got the ham radio antennas going. And I think there's a lot of guys
seeing more and more of it.
Right. That they figured out that, we can talk farther and clearer and better. And so if the truckers are doing it, why wouldn't the overlanders do it too?
Especially now where we are in the solar cycle, keywords, okay? Because one mirror mount could have the 11-meter stick and the other one could have the 10-meter stick. And here they are. They could be driving along or sitting there resting at the rest stop or wherever they are. And if the bands are up, again, propagation is up, they're going to have fun. And that's what they're going to want, to pass time, to relax, etc. You're going to spot the GMRS group. I think you will see GMR sales continue, but I think it's going to flatten after a while because there's going to be the shortfall. These guys are going to get hungry. For those who like to play radio, those overland guys who like to play radio, and then you're going to have guys like Kyle and Jason and our buddy Steve 741 and T.O. another one, and just so many other guys who are also doing some RV and slash overlanding. They're going to introduce them through the YouTube medium and through other ways, and they're going to find out what this ham radio stuff is and what this you're already in the park. Oh, I guess I can do this already, and I think it's going to be some interesting times. So, which means ham radio stuff is going to continue to do well, antennas, but now we're going to loop back to what radio are you going to buy? And here we go. And here we go again.
Oh, man, we're going back there.
You know what I'm saying? It's here we go again. So,
but Izzo, we got a guy. I think what is it? The Epson repeater is W1 ASS.
ASS.
Yep. A great call sign, right? So
and his name is Paul.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
I love it.
Double whammy.
I love it.
W1 ASS.
I love it.
He's got a really good repeater up here in New Hampshire. It's in Epsom, New Hampshire, which is kind of up by the coast, but it's got a huge area. I mean, I've heard guys like in Lincoln, New Hampshire. I've heard them out in Windsor, in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the mountains in a valley. I've heard them out in Keene. I heard him in Portland, Maine, and this guy is getting 2 more repeaters, and he's going to put them on the same frequency, so they'll be up north. So you're basically going to be able to get on his repeater, and pretty much it'll just, your radio will be on the same frequency, and it'll switch repeaters, kind of like the way a cell phone works. It'll be the same tone, so you'll be able to basically talk to it while you're driving through New Hampshire on this one repeater. And I think that's awesome. And I think that stuff like that picks up. I think you're going to start seeing more even on the FM side, on the 2 meter 440 side. Like people can start figuring out that you can throw a couple repeaters around, especially like up here in New Hampshire. It's hard because we have all the mountains and stuff. You lose repeaters quickly.
Right.
But if you spread them out and you can do that, and what this guy's going to do, I've always said, I wish we had like a whole New England repeater system. Like the whole, all of New England was on like one repeater system where we could just, and instead of having different repeaters in different areas, keep the same frequency, and wherever you're
Todd,
driving.
you know how awesome that repeater coverage is?
It's huge.
I took my wife to Lebanon, right, which is literally on the Vermont border in northern New Hampshire.
Yeah, you can hit it.
And yeah, I could hit that repeater clear all the way across the other side of the state.
I can hit it from Burlington, Mass. So the
doesn't Mount Washington do that? Doesn't the Mount Washington repeater give you that wide area coverage?
So
for like for the eastern part.
Yeah, but for some reason no one uses those repeaters. But there was a guy. He was in Lincoln, and I heard him when I was driving home from work on the Epsom repeater. And then there's another guy that was at Mount Washington. Now I don't know if he was at the top or at the base or somewhere in between, but he was at Mount Washington, and I could hear him hitting the repeater. And again, this repeater is like near the coast in Epsom. I mean, it's far away from, and there's a lot of mountains. And Anthony, who I forget what his call sign is, but he's like, he found this repeater basically and made it famous because he would be on it all the time. You'd call and he'd answer, right? All the time. So he does a 5 o'clock, I don't know what they call it. It's like a round table. It's a commuter net. You get out of work at 5.
I missed those. Yep.
KC1REK.
Yeah, KC1REK, and he's really, really gotten that thing going, and tons of people are using it. And when we did our 6 meter net, these guys were talking about it all day on the repeater. Like literally, I'm like, man, this 6 meter net's going to be huge because I've heard like 20 people talking about it that are coming in. But I've driven from Plymouth, New Hampshire, which is basically the center, all the way down, talking to Anthony and seeing where it comes in and where it comes out. And the only times I would get blocked is if I was driving down 93 and there'd be like the 2 hills would be like right next to me. And as soon as that broke out, it picked right back up again. And I've talked to him in Campton, which is even farther north. I know Lincoln works. So, I mean, basically up the 93 corridor, the Epsom repeater in Epsom will work. And he's
I'm sorry. Okay.
No. He's just going to make it that much better. And I think that it's going to be really cool that we might actually have a repeater system that you'll be able to log into and be able to talk to anyone in the state.
I really enjoy the New England DMR network that the guys in New Hampshire, Connecticut, Massachusetts, the Cape region, parts of Maine, Vermont. I haven't been on it in a long time. I got it all programmed in my zones on my radio for DMR, but
are you sure DMR, not Fusion?
No, DMR. Unless things had changed.
Then.
No, I'm talking about the New England repeater system, and I really like it. It's a really fun. Again, I could be in Connecticut and I can talk all over Connecticut, on the network, and then if I go north, I go over to there's like a New Hampshire statewide. Then there's local. There's various talk groups, and I know DMR is probably maybe we save it for another show, Eric. But it's just one of those. Sometimes they take off.
We can just sit and do a code plug the whole entire show, and I'll be like, "What?"
see now, and I get code plugs. Todd, go figure. Todd, see, Eric doesn't get code plugs. I get them.
Oh, I get them. I hate them, but I get them. I've done like IT background. I know long, complex strings of ridiculous information to be able to make things happen. So yeah.
but I don't understand why sometimes these things don't take off. Is it the willingness, including me, Is it the willingness to not learn something that holds me back from having fun? So maybe if I had the interest of learning about the radio electronically, I would be more educated in certain areas. But like the DMR stuff, D-Star stuff, I love it, I get it, but some people just don't want to deep dive into it.
Well, and again, like you probably very much had someone who could help you through the process, and I think that's a strength to both that person who was walking you or at least encouraging you to do it, and then you on the other hand being able to be willing to learn and grow and accept some new information or new ways of doing things. That's you kind of hit the nail on the head. Like most people just get stuck in a rut because they feel like they can't ask. And then because they're fearful that, the Elmer that they go talk to in the club that's like, 20 years older than them is just going to give them hell for like, saying, well, why didn't you consult the ARRL antenna book manual for that? And it's like, because I wanted to talk to you, it's just,
all right. And anyway. I got two very, very fast topics.
Hold on a second though. There was a topic in there that I want to make sure we hit up on Todd because Todd's got a good story. So go ahead, Paul. You got that question?
Which question?
The one that was for Todd on the radio control ones, because I know he wants to talk about it.
Yes. All right. We're sorry, I had to scroll back up here. All right, There we go. All right, Todd. Doc wants to know: do they still do remote control hobbies with 2-meter controllers?
Tell your story, Todd.
Elmo flying.
All right, Doc, here we go. These guys don't like me talking about my flying hobby, but there's a lot of connections.
Flying again.
Todd, you can come on. Todd, hey, Todd, you can. Todd,
silence, I'm going to start punching dicks.
Todd, you can come on Clubhouse and you can talk for 2 hours all you want. We will get you. We will book you.
All right. So, Doc, my story real quick is how I got into ham radio was I fly RC planes. I fly RC helicopters, drones, you name it. If it flies, I'll fly it. One of the things we do is FPV, first person view, where you got to put these goggles on and you have a camera on the aircraft and you actually see through the goggles a video feed. That video feed is transmitted on a technician band. Now, legally, to do this, you're supposed to have a technician license. There's one question on the technician test that brings this up. And no one that I know except myself and a couple other guys that don't do FPV that are hams do this and don't have their technician license. So I always joke about it saying, what is ham radio? Now, the 2-meter stuff, they don't do any of that stuff anyway. It's all now 2.4 gigs and 900 megahertz is what we use. The technology, is growing so fast in that hobby. It's even, I kind of took a little break from it. Not that I quit doing it, but I wasn't going as much as I was. And when I came back, the technology had jumped. It took me a while to get all caught up to what they were doing. But there is a big connection, and you'd be surprised on how many guys are flying the model airplanes that are also hams. And I've met a couple guys in the clubs, and they see my antenna. They go, "You a ham?" I'm like, "Yeah, you
a ham?"
Yeah. So we get so we start talking. But yeah, that's that's my story, and that's how it all started. But there is the Phantom Net. I don't know if you guys have heard, those of you who are around here, the Phantom Net out of Mass is, they talk about RC flying and ham radio all day long. So if you get on that net, or that, it's not even, that's just the repeater. So if you get on the Phantom repeater, you will hear guys talking about flying and flying RC stuff and ham radio all day long.
Damn it, Mike, go back to bed.
He's not on here today. He didn't want to join us today.
He wanted to do some family things, so yeah, good for you, Mike. Hopefully it was fun, and glad the bummer you couldn't be jumping on. But if you're bored, hey, you're more than welcome to jump in. You got the link. There was one other point that I just wanted to bring up that reminded me of when I was a kid, real quick. That was from WEC CB640. There was a Waltham machine that I loved growing up as a kid because I lived in Westford, and so I was always on that repeater because I was a no-code tech, and I loved hearing those guys talk about all electronics and everything. I had no, like Izzo said, I had no idea what the heck they were talking about, but it was always fascinating to hear on the car ride home. So yeah, that jogged the memory there, and so thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it. But all right, back to you, Izzo. So what you got?
CRS.
No. I'm just trying to think how I want to phrase it because it is
Would
really.
you like me to put? You want some dramatic music?
No. It's Connecticut. It's Connecticut based because every state differs when it comes to their Aries group. I proved, and I should say that I take it back. Myself and many others wanted to try something different, and the results were. We sort of knew the answer, but we wanted to see it for ourselves. I think the Aries groups need to rethink how they're doing things. I think some of the groups are doing things, and I'm only talking Connecticut, and I love these guys. I got a lot of respect, but I don't sometimes agree with the path they're going down. I still support them, but I don't agree with the path. There's stuff that we got to do everything still on 75 meters. And I don't want to hear that you're doing it with an NVSI antenna. Myself and 5 other guys, there were 6 of us. We went on. This is actually right before the 706 Mark II came out. G came out. Oh my God. And we proved that you can use 2-meter sidebands to cover the state of Connecticut. There was a couple areas where we needed some relays. Mike, maybe. There's always exceptions to the rule. But I don't foresee that changing. Especially when the 706 Mark II G came out and other rigs started coming out with portability, 50 watts or more on 2 meters, 100 watts, small, 4-element Yagi. In my state, you put 4 or 5 guys strategically around the state, and you're going to get the message through on 2-meter sideband. And who cares what really the band conditions are? We don't care if the solar storm. Well, maybe a solar storm is extreme, but you guys know where I'm going. Sure. And the groups don't want. I don't understand why we got to. Why are we going to climb a mountain to get to do our job for a served agency when we can do it a lot easier and concentrate on things and also make it fun? And I also think it would be a win-win for the POTA group, because if more guys were using 2-meter sideband, and I am one of them, I should be, but I am not. I don't bring out my 2-meter sideband antenna, and I should. It's a very, very old antenna. It's a box antenna, and I can make it go vertical. I can make it go horizontal. It looks like a box kite. It works great. You pump 100 watts in that thing, and I could talk all over. So my prediction is we're still gonna get stuck in these ruts of this is how we've always done it. And I don't understand why, because in so many other areas we have stepped outside of the box and had fun and learned, in which now equipment came out, homebrew or whatever, and YouTube shows had content, and we learned another, and we started fooling around. So this is one topic, and please, I hope I'm wrong, and I would love to revisit this topic. If anybody in Connecticut wants to challenge me, absolutely. You know how to get a hold of me, and we can make this work. I'm a believer, because it's about the served agencies. The last one is good.
Back to survey. Like, so funny is that you talk in Aries in that general sense. I think for the longest time, Aries used to be almost sort of like the wannabe, first responders for a while. They started to kind of behave like that, and they thought that they were bigger than what they intended to do. And so I think since they've been knocked down a few notches from a lot of the statewide stuff that's kind of gone into play, and a lot of agencies saying, hey, we'll just do it on our own and we don't need you any longer, that no one ever said, well, okay, well, then how can we reinvent ourselves? And just like you were saying, you should get back to some of the basic stuff that you were playing around with and learning and growing in, but with the idea that you're reinventing a different way to do it. Because, I mean, obviously you look at like Milton, you look at Helene and all of those areas, there are people that were just reinventing themselves. They weren't waiting for the Aries or any of the other agencies that kind of partner with the government, folks to do something. They just stepped in and started doing something, and then adjusting as they, needed to based off of conditions and stuff. And a lot of awesome stuff came out of that, because I think a lot of people opened up their eyes and went, oh, well, maybe this needs to be changed and we have to do something different, because what we're doing now is just, most people are just getting bored of it. I'm not an Aries guy, but, I know we're making some strides in our region to improve on that, and it's kind of exciting me to see, and so maybe I make the leap in 2025. But yeah, I agree with that.
Back in the early 90s, Kenwood came out with this. I think it was the VH1 communicator. It actually showed you a picture. You transmitted it, it showed you a picture. And at the time I was working I was a volunteer with the American Red Cross, and a bunch of us, we bought 4 or 5 of these ourselves, and we were fooling around, and we were depicting, what if the creek rises and this and that. And we showed some people, some people around in our area, and they were amazed. They said, "I want you part of our team," but I couldn't get people to buy into it. And I'm like, "Oh my God, you want to play? Here's your opportunity." They wanted to do it the old style way.
Yeah, right.
And that radio never sold. I would love to find 2 or 3 of them, at least 2 now. Mm-hmm. Maybe on eBay there or whatever. Someone knows where they are, but I would love to get someone like that. The other topic, and Mike N2 MAK brought up regarding the preppers. My prediction is you will see more preppers buying ham radio equipment, but I don't know if they're going to cross over and actually use the equipment. Yeah. And I feel, and I have a couple of guys locally who talk a lot, and they've spent hundreds, if not thousands of dollars just in the ham rate, the communication topic. But these radios are not getting used. These batteries are not getting used. They're not taking them out every 30 days. You know what I'm saying? They're not taking them out every 30 days and charge. They think that they're going to build a Faraday cage and everything. That battery is not going to work. Mm-hmm. It's so, and I feel bad. So I try to just, I'm not the Einstein here, but I just give them something to think about, saying, why don't you just play more? And oh, by the way, we got this great repeater in town that covers all of us. And all you got to do is just get on it, for $200-$300, get yourself a radio, and they won't make, because they're not where I am with the love for this hobby, where I live and breathe ham radio. They live and breathe prepping, but in multiple areas. I'm just one little offshoot of that tree for them. So,
but I will say this though. All right, a true prepper, right? Not a social media prepper or I'm doing this to fit in, right? But a true prepper is going to practice every aspect of their preps so that they know 100% when something happens, right? That they're at least knowledgeable in how to use what they've got. And
well, Paul, one of the things
that's me. So
but they've actually brought me in as a longtime friend. I've known these guys for about 25, 30 years now, and they have said, well, that's not communications is not our expertise. Join our group. And when I say join our group, we have cigars and we try to solve the world's problem just like everywhere else, right? But I know if it was to ever hit the fan, my role would be communications. Another guy over here, he's got the root cellar. He's got the food. So we're all going to contribute like a mini community for the betterment of ourselves to sustain until some level of calm and normalcy starts to grow again. Maybe it'll never happen in my lifetime. Maybe it will, but it's just nice to know. And I'm happy to be welcomed. And as well as I love learning from them. I know I'm not going to be learning how to can food, but it's fun to watch them. It's fun to hear what they do.
Well, but you hit the nail on the head, dude. Like you're bringing your expertise, not with the idea to just teach and move on, but you're there to build a relationship long term for both your own little community and for something maybe larger. And whether and I always look at ham radio, it's like I'm only planting seeds a lot of times. So like whether I see that person later on in my life or they come into the fold in the ham radio family or whatever, I will never know. But and maybe our paths will cross in the future. But like I'm just putting little ideas in people's minds and getting them more focused or getting them back to something that they might have done when they were younger or whatever, and just really just opening that atmosphere for them to eventually, they may eventually have some time later down in their life that they say, hey, I remember ham radio and I remember that one encounter. And that's like, I think what you're kind of doing there is like, with the prepper community, they're like hyper focused, like Paul says, on very much doing the activities to get ready for whatever the end game is going to be.
We have one guy.
Communication-
We have one guy who can take a piece of leather, and it's amazing what he can make, from holsters to belts to pants to a jacket to a hat, whatever. And I was kidding. He showed me all his dyes, or I think that's what they're called, the dyes, how he makes stuff. And I said to him, I don't want to say his name, but I said to him, why do you have so much? He turned to me and says, why do you have so many batteries and so many antennas? Touche. Touche. Why did I go buy a solar panel this year? I don't need a solar panel, but I bought
Yes,
one.
you do.
Yes, I do.
Yes,
I do. And I learned how to interface it with my batteries. And now with all these Black Friday deals coming up for the 100 ampere hour batteries, and Jason put out a great video today regarding a battery box and modifying it. And I've been struggling of what do I want to do. So again, we're sharing ideas once again. So I think the prepping thing will still sell equipment, but I don't know if the large masses will actually be using the airwaves. I wish they would, because there's some great people out there.
Well,
there
the other side of that coin is that if they come into the airwaves, the ham radio community that's been camping out at these quiet repeaters, if they become curmudgeons and start being lids, then they're just going to be like, I'm already checkbox done. I'm moving back to my prepping stuff because it fulfills the need that I have. And so I think
who you killing? POTUS killing ham radio.
That was one of my next topics. I was going to say, I hope in 2025 that we see more complaints of POTUS killing ham radio. That's all I have to say. Because that's where I'm looking.
Yes.
But anyway, all right. So what? Anybody got? I got one more that I want to throw in the ring here. If Paul, you got one. You guys got all one that we can kind of bang through quickly.
No, go ahead. Throw yours out.
Okay. All right. So this one's going to be a tough one. It's a big nut to crack. Gamification. I am tired of dealing with submitting logs. I know, Izzo, you don't submit logs, but those that submit logs to contests and waiting months for the result. Like, this is the 21st century. We should be thinking more along the lines of, like, how can we produce, a result for something that we participate in, whether we participate 2 hours or 24 hours, and be able to see how that standing works. And I'm all in for support for people that want to start to improve that versus like the contesting community just blowing up and making a big stink that, people like that are ruining, what really true ham radio and contesting is. And contesting is awesome, but, I would love to know how, and I know there's all the tools out there, blah, blah, blah. Exactly, Paul. But, there's still something missing because we still keep revisiting this topic. And we still keep revisiting, this over and over again. So I'm predicting
Kyle,
2025. Yeah,
Kyle AA0 Alpha 0 Z. Kyle said that, I don't know, maybe about 6 months to a year ago. And Kyle, again, he is so smart. And Eric, maybe you would understand, but he was basically saying it's really not hard to do. No. But just if someone just starts doing it and more start doing it, you will see it like dandelions growing. You're right. There's only one winter field day I submit, and 13 colonies I submit as a hunter, I guess you can call me. But yes, I would love for 13 colonies. When I fill up my sheet the old-fashioned way, I fill out my sheet on that PDF and I send it in. Yeah, I throw the guys a donation, but would it be nice just to see me somewhere? On my QRZ page, I found and help me out with is it a UR? I put something on my QRZ page where you could see my last park that I activated.
That little plugin for
whatever that's called. I love that. Congratulations to the guy or men who created that, and I wish more of that was available. Or maybe it is, but
that was Dan WD4DAN out of Georgia. Yeah,
that's right. So I love stuff like that. I think that's cool. That excites us. You're right. When you could see it, Eric, when you could see it in real time within a day or less, that's awesome.
Yeah, dude, there's something to be getting for instant feedback, but more so in a community kind of format. I want to know how I stack up against Paul when he's competing in the same space. Whether
do you think we'll see that in 2025, Eric? From an IT perspective or from the technical side of it?
Well, yes and no. Like my biggest gripe when it comes to this is like I see you guys had them on your show. They did that whole platform for logging. What's it called? World Radio League? Yeah, World
Yes.
Radio League.
Yeah.
Great concept, good idea. I know they're trying to build obviously a base to, you know, a paid base so they could support the platform going forward. But that's kind of one of those things that's like, you know, most people are tired of prescription kind of approaches. So that kind of just rubs me the wrong way. But they've got some good ideas. They're really starting to like integrate into that type of stuff. They're starting to build dashboards and contest environments and stuff like that where people can get real-time feedback and basically commune with one another and be able to use chats and that type of stuff that everybody in the world gaming world uses today, that they're just, you know, it's commonplace for them, and they love it. Like I listen to my son yell at, you know, on top of his lungs at like 2:30 in the morning at his buddies that he's playing in Fortnite or something like that, and it's like, you know, they're having fun because they're in a ranking type thing and they're all trying to like do something. I want to do that same thing in ham radio.
And here we are waiting. We're waiting.
I know. It's like, here's my log, sir. Can you process it as soon as possible? Oh, I have to put it in Kerbillo. Oh God.
Hey, listen.
Anyway, sorry.
Hats off to the POTA group.
They have done an awesome job.
Who took that? Remember the days of submitting to your call region? Remember all that stuff?
Oh yeah,
The dark ages.
yeah.
Now you just drop that ADIF file into that box and within 10, 20 seconds, it's on there. I'm not a certificate chaser, but for those who are, you know, but whatever, it's, you know, go for it, Dave. So maybe, I don't know. Like I said, I look to you guys, you're smarter guys than me when it comes to that category of our hobby. Can it be done? And let's start seeing it. And as far as I'm concerned, man, you want $25, $5 for a donation for that? I don't give a shit. I don't care. Yep. Take it. Here, take it. To me, it's worth the cigar that I smoke to give you that money, you know, for that, because that's going to bring me back next year for that.
Yep.
Well, listen.
Think about it.
If you want it to get fixed, don't have the California voter counters do it, because they're still voting. They're still counting ballots from the election.
Sure. But so, like, it kind of reminds me back, and we've all been part. I don't know if Paul, you participated. I know Izzy, you probably participated, or maybe you didn't. Remember the FT8 off that TO did with all those guys?
Fun.
That was a blast.
That was so much fun,
dude. That was kind of kicked it off for me. And, you know, they're doing it with poker and a little bit, but yeah, I'd love to see the FT8 off again, bring that, you know, kind of back as a classic, event. But that was always a blast because it was like a bunch of rag chewing. There was a bunch of people complaining on YouTube, but, you know, I'm better than you, but all doing it tongue-in-cheek humor and then doing it real time. Yeah.
And then a bunch of our guys in our club would do it, and we'd just talk on the repeater. Yep. And we would, or on the Ham Shack hotline, and we'd see how good our club would get. Like Tim, right? He only had his technician, and I think he didn't come in last. He had like 10 contacts. He wasn't the last guy. I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah, we did like an FTA bingo where I sent out like bingo cards like 40 minutes before we started, and then everybody had to fill in their bingo card to see if they could make contacts with letters or, you know, call sign, prefix, suffix.
You know, you just brought up a good point. See, that concept of you take bingo and you bring it into the hobby. Yeah. That's something that I applaud 13 Colonies for what they did with the special call signs. You're not playing bingo, but you know, you had this, you know what I'm saying, Paul? Yeah. It was cool to work, you know, K2A, K2B, K2C, and you go right down the line. And then they brought in the special events of the UK, the France. Very smart, very, very smart 13 Colonies. But like I said, I wish we can just get off the paper stuff and maybe the real time. And trust me, if I had the knowledge, I would be calling them up. I would have called them up, you know, yesterday or a year ago. Say, hey, listen, I got this idea if you want it. Yep. And what we would call real time or whatever. And does that, you know, appeal to you guys?
Yeah, totally. I mean, so go ahead, Todd.
No, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, how awesome would it be like if you're doing 13 Colonies and you could kind of see where you ranked and where you're at with, and you could check anyone, you know, just be like I think too, is with AI coming into our lives.
That'd be awesome.
You think so?
I think it's going to be like, I'm sure the computer could just figure it out in a year or two. They'll probably be like, AI, run this, keep this data going live, and they'll probably just do it. But I think with the technology, I mean, it's definitely can be done, but I think it could happen. The question is do people want to go that route? The people who are in charge of say 13 colonies or who are running that, are they willing to kind of take it to the next level, or are they just happy with the way it is my
Well,
thought.
okay. Well, here's the thing, Todd. I am a firm believer. If you have an idea, a solution, be part of that group. Just don't drop it on their plates. Give them more work and walk away. That to me, I'm not that guy. If I have, listen. I'm going to present it to you. We're going to talk it out. You want to go forward? I'm in now. I'm in, not for ego purposes, but because I don't believe in dropping more work on a volunteer. That is not fair. I've had that happen to me so many times. People like that really despise me. I'm like, go, just go do your own thing, because I got enough on my plate. You got to be part of the team here, and I love surrounding myself with people who are at my intelligent level and even higher.
Right.
And even higher. It's fun. I even like sometimes surrounding myself with people who are not as smart as me, but guess what? I can still learn from them, and we're still going to have fun either way. So either way, surround yourself with good ethical people, and all of a sudden, man, it starts to grow like dandelions. We're all having fun here, and all sort of shit, and it gets crazy. So,
okay. Well, we got time for one more. Anyone want to throw one in?
Well, I just want to bring this comment to our attention here. So don't know if you're talking over new topics. We're not really, but as a newer ham, I would love a streamlined system to get involved with MCOM related events per state region. So I don't know if he's involved in Aries at all, or if there's an Aries races group locally for him. But I mean, at least here, the Aries group, it wasn't doing what it should have done, and so we saw a split, and now we've got a separate. So instead of being all Hillsborough County, now there's a Manchester Aries and then a Nashua Aries, I think, or lower, whatever. But the groups do different things, and they're focused on different things, and so while it's super hard to find these groups that are practicing MCOM related, exercises, they're getting out there and actually doing MCOM exercises. My only advice to the comment is just you keep looking, and if you don't find something that's local to you, reach out to me personally, and I'll see if I can't find somebody to hook you up with. Because I think MCOM is an important aspect of the hobby that often gets overlooked.
Paul, can I just throw this out there? One of the things that for Dr. Jonathan to think about is this. I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm continuing my education on doing it. Okay, because world events change. Okay, if you told me 30 years ago that we were going to have this thing called COVID, I would have said, nah, you're wasting your time. Go back to watching Walking Dead or some other fictitious Star Trek or whatever, okay? But it happened, okay? So when COVID came, a lot of us had to kind of like rewrite the book, or we had to use what we knew but kind of had to learn and be a little open. It was weird. It's hard when you get a lot of guys in a lot of towns are bred. A friend gets a job. Maybe he doesn't have the best credentials. Who cares? But he got the job. Is the bottom line. I was given a comment one day that was a very nice, heartfelt comment to me, saying, "You're one of the few emergency management directors who I know who are not only doing logistics, but you're doing communications." And I said, it just comes easy to me. That's all I know. And I probably told him I probably can't tell you a difference between a resistor and a capacitor and a picofarad, but I could tell you how to do. I could walk into a building and tell you how many cots we can put in there and what we're going to need for food and the generator. It just comes naturally to me. Find people like that, Jonathan, and get yourself involved with them. And like Paul said, there may not be somebody in your backyard, but just remember one thing: you got to decide, what do you want to do? Do you want to prep yourself to leave your area to go to somewhere else to help out that group that might need help? Maybe not in the beginning, but maybe 7 days later, 14 days later. We saw that in North Carolina, Tennessee all the time. We saw that. Mm-hmm. because it's very hard to say, I am going to do all of this. Then all of a sudden, if you got a family, how are you going to split, and a job, how are you going to split yourself 3 ways? Like for me, many times I had a struggle locally. I work 45 minutes away. They were not going to release me. Oh, I just lost the light, but
Got to
that's
pay
all
the
right.
bill.
Got to pay the bill. I could not participate because my job said I could not participate. So you kind of have to kind of do your homework. I'm not saying don't get involved, but kind of figure out what you want to do, what meets your needs, your interests, as well as your surrounding world. And if there is nothing, contact Paul up there and Eric and Todd. See what's going on in their regions. There may be something, or do something on a bigger basis to take your expertise and see how you can fit into this puzzle of, we have this disaster. And I always teach, when I teach disaster courses, I tell everyone, you know what a disaster is? Take a box of puzzles. Throw it up in the air. I guess now what you got to do, you got to put all those pieces back together. And sometimes puzzle pieces go faster and easier together, and others take time. And that's really what a disaster is. And where are you as far as being part of putting those puzzle pieces together?
And I think too, as a ham radio operator who actually operates and gets on the air and does the POTA stuff, has work pileups, runs a net on Sundays, runs our net. That experience gets you just a lot of practice, and that if there ever was an emergency and you're the only guy that knows how to really run a radio or community, you're going to be more comfortable than, say, my next door neighbor that's never picked up the mic before and said anything. So I think
it should be. But how about the multitask? Remember we were talking about that earlier?
Yeah.
If you can multitask that, and you may not even be in front of the radio, but if there's other things in that EOC or that building that you can multitask, you are going to be handpicked. You are going to be handpicked first. If you have a cool head, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. If you like to have a cigarette and have coffee, that's always a great way of getting in with that group and talking about stuff. Because I wasn't that guy, but I would love to sit out there and BS with them with a cigar, and that's how you start talking. And all of a sudden, but just like with Todd, you hit the nail on the head with that one too. The POTA really helps.
Yeah, I mean, I've listened to Aries nets, and I think some of these guys only do the Aries nets, and it gets congested. There's a lot of mistakes, but I hear our guys, we have a net every night. So we have guys that do it every single night, and the new guys come in, they want to do it. They're technicians. They're getting into the hobby like I was. They want to do it, and they do an awesome job, and they just get better and better, get smoother and smoother. And I think it's kind of like with anything you do, the more practice you do, the better you're going to get at it. And when you do HF and you're doing POTA, say, and you get into a pileup, you're managing your pileup, and that's not an easy task to do. And I didn't really think of it until I had a video. I think it was one of Eric's videos, and we were working a pileup, and my mother was like, "How did you learn to do all that? Like, that's pretty amazing." And what were those codes you were using? But like for us, we do it every day. It's like, we don't think about it. But I think people on the outside see it. It's a pretty impressive skill to work a radio, work a lot of people, and log and get it, like you said, multitask. And
take a net control. Hey, Todd, take a net control. This is what I learned. Take that script sometime and throw it away. Not on the net. Do it in your basement, in your room, whatever, and pretend you lost your script to run the net. How are you going to run that net? And some of muscle memory is going to come back, but it's also going to teach you how to work from outside of the box in and bring some confidence. So if there is ever a failure somewhere, how are you not going to sweat and get the job done and show that while you still have that radio control and taking check-ins, and then when someone jumps in, hey, stand by, please, stand by. I'm going to get to you. That kind of stuff. But take that script and just throw it away while still meeting the goals for what you have to do and want to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, since we've been doing the net before I was even licensed, I found our club because I listened to them on a scanner, and we've had times where the net control lost his radio, power outage, whatever, disappeared, and one of us was just able to pick it up right where we
Step
left
in.
off.
Step right in. Yeah.
Step right in and just take it on and continue on with the net. To me, that is it's not life or death, but it's a great experience of, hey, we lost someone, we're going to continue on. We're going to get through this net. Everyone's going to get to hear what they wanted to say or whatever. And I've seen it done a few times. And then if there's a new guy who's having trouble with it or doing it, another net control would cop in. But again, it's more practice. And that's what our hobby is. I mean, we get on the radio. What are we practicing for? I mean, we're doing POTA, we're hunting, we're making DX contacts, we're talking on the repeaters. I mean, I was very timid to get on the radio and get nervous. I remember pushing the mic on the first repeater. I had like butterflies in my stomach because I didn't know what to expect and what were they going to think of me when they said it. But like you said, the more you do it, we throw our call signs out all the time, and I'll talk to anyone who wants to talk to me. And I love it on the commute because if I can get someone to talk to me on the way in and the way back, it makes my commute fly by, and it's just good to catch up. So, I mean, anyone who's new, my biggest thing is, it's great you want to get on, but just get on the air and have fun. And, your ham radio experience will guide you to what you want to do. And you'll find someone in a club or, on a YouTube, you'll find your niche and you'll see what you want to do. And that's the way it worked for me. And I really truly believe it'll work with anyone that just starts dabbling into it. And there's so many things to do in the hobby. It's crazy. I mean, I haven't even touched I probably only touched like 1% of it.
The hobby of 1,000 hobbies.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, dude, awesome stuff. I'm sure we could go for hours. I know I could. We'll have to pick this up probably sometime in the new year for sure, just as a follow through and see if anything that we talked about kind of improved or got better, because that'd be real cool.
Don't we have one in December?
We do, but that we're gonna have the POTA Power and Ham Radio duo hopefully on as a power couple.
Two good groups.
Looking forward to
people.
that.
Excellent
people. They were in the chat a little earlier, the Ham Radio duo, so I don't know if they're still in there, but yeah, I love that. We're gonna have both those on. We're looking forward to that. But yeah, so yeah, we had 35 in the chat there. So thank you guys for all hanging in there and participating in some awesome, good conversation. And I think our numbers went up fast when we started doing something extra with Todd. So Paul's the star there. That we know. But yeah, that was fun to kind of mix things up there, guys. And Izzo, thank you again for coming and hanging out with us.
I love it here, man.
You are always welcome, my friend. The door is wide open. No code required. So, just come on in.
Listen, what are we 200 miles away from each other? Maybe 300? I don't know.
No. Where are you in Connecticut?
Like 160.
I'm on the Connecticut shoreline. Yeah, so
maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours.
But regardless, though, it's funny how some things, 3 hours away are exactly the same, and other things, there's other opportunities. And it all depends. Eric just said it, man. It's what do you want to do? What do you want to do in this hobby? There is something for everybody in this hobby. And, and whether you go to a club meeting or find somebody on social media or whatever, Discord or whatever, next thing you know, you're sharing ideas privately. Next thing you know, you're having a cigar, you're going out for coffee, you're meeting up 50 miles. Again, the friendship builds.
Right. Or you're sitting in a chat and you're participating in a live stream, and, you see that all the time.
I mean, heck, nobody knew who Andy Cowley was, and he's like almost a regular everywhere you go.
He's a celebrity. Everybody
loves Andy.
Everybody does. Well, cool. Well, again, thank you guys for everybody in the chat. It was fun hanging out and talking about this stuff. I always enjoy it, and it kind of mixes things up and gets me thinking. But as always, you can always check the Live Free and Ham crew out over at livefreeandham.com. If you haven't subscribed to our podcast, please subscribe. You'll be very happy with all the great content over there. And as always, if you're one of those guys that or gals that like to be on the Patreon's the place to go. So you can come be a Patreon member. And don't forget, you can get right now on the store if I can hold the view here, Live Free and Ham drams here. Those are a limited run, so get them while they're there. And don't forget about the pigs, man. Let's spread the love. Let's show how much we love hammers and hamming out there. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch the replay, or just go to gethammed.com and check that stuff out. And, you'll learn a little bit more about that. So with that, guys, I appreciate you. And thanks again for hanging out with us tonight. And with that, I'm going to say 7-3.
7-3.
See you guys.